What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 6 Light Years Chapter 126 Gu Lingshan, The Lurking Spies of Sakura Country. I guessed it. Chu Han silently replied in his heart. From the short time of contact, it can be seen that Zhang Yi should have a certain status and prestige in the Royal Knights, although this seems a bit inconsistent with his young appearance. And there is only one possibility for such a person, who has deliberately approached himself who has nothing to do with the Royal Knights several times, and that is because of Chu Shi. Zhang Yi and the others used to be members of Chu Zai's team. Perhaps, these few people in front of me will be the key to finding my sister. Thinking about it, Chu Han looked at Zhang Yi and gave him a look of, continue talking. Zhang Yi smiled lightly, and undid the top 2 buttons of his white shirt. Although the well-fitting formal suit made him look a little mature, it also obviously made him uncomfortable. Suddenly I don't know where to start. You know, I'm not very good at words, Zhang Yi said. Chu Han shrugged, adjusted his sitting posture by the way, did not speak, and still maintained a posture of listening attentively. Okay, let's start with why we appeared in Guling Mountain. Zhang Yi's dark eyes kept rolling, and he quickly organized his words. But at this time, Chu Han stretched out his hand to interrupt. Maybe it can be started earlier. For example, why did you sell me the skill book last time? Every time Chu Han thought about that 100 million, his heart ached. Sell? Su Ying, who had been silent on the side, suddenly couldn't hold back her voice. She looked 2 or 3 years older than Zhang Yi. She was wearing a moon-white sportswear, which wrapped her immature and beautiful figure, and she could vaguely see the proud capital. Hearing her voice, Chu Han looked sideways. I saw Su Yingqing wearing light makeup, with a look that I still feel pity for. Being touched by Chu Han's eyes, a blush appeared on her fair face, so she quickly looked away and whispered to Zhang Yi. Yi Shen, didn't Sister Cece ask you to give that skill book to Chu Han? Why did he just say, it was for sale? Su Ying's voice was just like her own, soft and delicate, but in the empty and quiet room, several people could hear it clearly. Chu Han's face changed slightly, although he didn't understand what was going on, but from Su Ying's words, he could also sense that he seemed to be tricked again. On the other side, Zhang Yi looked disgusted. Su Ying, do you know why Sister Cece asked you to come with me this time? Ah? Su Ying opened her small mouth slightly, her eyes rolled, because I'm more capable, can I help you? Zhang Yi rolled his eyes, because she wants you to experience more things, so that you can sharpen your mind and temper your character, especially this mouth, you need to become calmer. In other words, you criticize too much, oh. Su Ying suddenly realized, she quickly shut her mouth and sat there obediently. Zhang Yi smiled, and said to Chu Han, children are ignorant and joking, don't think too much about it. Chu Han's face was dark, but this is not the time to be entangled in this matter. That is to say, you have been following me since I first stepped into Deep Sea City? Seeing that he didn't hold on to this matter, Zhang Yi was secretly happy, and then said, it's not that late. In fact, from the day you successfully changed jobs, you have our people by your side. Do you still remember the courier Captain Chu Shi sent you? The courier who delivered it to you at that time was called Yang Deliang. He was also an old man from our 9th team, but he didn't come today. You know, after the disappearance of Captain Chu Shi, the 9th squad was disbanded, and our old teammates were scattered in various departments of the guild, so it was difficult to get together. He had been secretly observed so long ago, but he didn't react at all. Chu Han couldn't help but feel a sinking heart. Why are you staring at me? Zhang Yi chuckled, don't be nervous, we don't have any malicious intentions, and I even settled a lot of things for you. You helped me? Chu Han began to recall his own experience, and it seemed that there was no plot of being helped by a mysterious person. I have a forbidden spell in my hand, and it's not bad if I don't go to fight for righteousness. Hoe the strong and help the weak, so why do I need help from others? Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows proudly, his youthful and frivolous demeanor inadvertently exuded. Do you still remember the Tu family who was wiped out by you? Butcher? Chu Han thought for a while, you mean the Suzaku Guild, the Tu Lian family? His pet beast, Xiao He, was still taken out of his son's coffin, so Chu Han would not forget it. However, at that time, none of those gangsters were his opponents, and after a few shots of the forbidden curse, they were all dead, so why did they need others to intervene? Seeing Chu Han's doubts, Zhang Yi smiled and said, when you did it, you didn't need our help, but what you didn't know was that the Tu family has ties to the Royal Knights. Tu Lian's younger brother, Tu Feng, is also a captain of our guild, a rank 8 knight of level 440. You were by no means his opponent at that time. Hearing this, Chu Han recalled it carefully, as if he had heard that there was such a character in the Tu family. How did you help me? Before Zhang Yi could answer, Su Ying couldn't help but say. Ying God deliberately provoked Tu Feng to fight him in the ring, but Yi Shen, accidentally, beat him to death, and he was punished afterwards. This. The corner of Chu Han's mouth twitched slightly. If Su Ying is telling the truth, then this Zhang Yi is not as harmless as he looks. Deliberately provoking, and then beating people to death, although it helped him solve a crisis, but this style of behavior, Chu Han really disagrees. Calm. Zhang Yi frowned vigorously, pointed at his mouth and growled at Su Ying. The latter stuck out his tongue playfully and retreated into the sofa. Let's not talk about that for now. Chu Han still cared about what he wanted to know the most. Why are you so close to me? Zhang Yi spread his hands. Let's wait for Sister Cece to tell you about this. We're just following her arrangement, and you will meet soon. Oh, by the way, her name is Shu Xiying. She used to be the vice captain of Team 9. The vice captain? Chu Han said silently, so this time, you are here not to investigate any case, but to find me. No, Zhang Yi immediately denied. We came to Guling Mountain this time to investigate the case of Hu Yuan's murder. Although this person is indeed terrible, he is a captain after all, and the guild still attaches great importance to this matter. As for why we are looking for you, it's because Sister Cece thinks it's time for us to formally appear in front of you, so let me have a brief chat with you first. Since the other party was vague and didn't want to reveal more, Chu Han didn't ask further. Anyway, according to Zhang Yi, he will meet the vice captain soon, and then he will know what they want to do. In fact, in Chu Han's heart, he didn't think they would be malicious. After all, they are all team members who followed their sister through life and death, so they should not come to harm themselves. Maybe, this time it is very possible to use their power to find my sister, which also corresponds to Yao Shengyu's divination prophecy. Thinking of this point, Chu Han said lightly, so is my suspicion of killing Hu Yuan cleared now? Suspicion? Zhang Yi was taken aback, and said as a matter of course, you have never been suspicious. We have been able to confirm that the one who killed Hu Yuan was the spies of the Cherry Blossom Kingdom lurking in Guling Mountain. Chapter 127. Our 9th team is full of elites, depend on. Chu Han almost didn't hold back. Then you still suspect me and come to investigate me? Hey, there's no other way. Zhang Yi signaled Chu Han not to get excited, only in this way can we call you out to chat alone. Besides, the three boys just now insisted that you killed their captain. As the person in charge of this case, I have to do business anyway, so I'll ask you a few words. I believe in you. Chu Han complained in his heart. Didn't you say that you have confirmed that Hu Yuan was killed by the people of Yinghua country? Why did they still kill me? What level are they? They don't deserve to know the inside story. Zhang Yi unabashedly belittled his colleagues. These are all information that can only be known by cadres above the captain level. However, all the members of the original 9th team of Songfengtong are elites, and the guild treats them specially, so some information that is not at a high confidentiality level can also be accessed. What's the inside story? Chu Han turned into a curious baby, and by the way tested his own level in Zhang Yi's heart, to see if he was qualified to know these inside stories. Zhang Yi thought for a few seconds and then said, it's okay to tell you. Can you let me talk? Su Ying raised her hand weakly at the side. She didn't speak for a long time, and she was almost suffocated. Zhang Yi was happy to save effort, made a gesture of, please, and lay down on the sofa. Su Ying applied for the right to speak, her little face flushed with excitement. Hello. Chu Han. My name is Su Ying. Chu Han nodded as a response. Su Ying cleared her throat and started. It's like this. Our royal knights have a long history. From the day it was established, it was actually to resist foreign forces, especially the Sakura Kingdom, which is closest to the border of our Dragon Kingdom and has been eyeing it all the time. Sakura country has an official organization called the Holy Cherry Society. Some time ago we found out that they had some tricks, and even sent a high-ranking cadre to Long Country as an undercover agent. Unfortunately, it was too late when we found out. The undercover agent was in Shanghai City, assassinated Shang Zhengchu, the president of the League of Assassins, and continued to stay in the League of Assassins under the guise of him. Later, our elders decided not to take action. As long as the undercover agent doesn't continue to kill people, we won't startle the enemy. We will spy on him and find out their purpose. As a result, that guy was killed by you. Mikami Yoda. Hearing this, Chu Han said the name lightly. That's right. Su Ying nodded frantically. You killed Mikami Yoda and took away the forbidden magic stone. However, Sister Cece said that this is not a bad thing. It is most suitable for you to give the taboo magic stone. At that time, you can change your job to become a knight, and then join our royal knights. With Captain Chu Zai's brother here, there is hope for the 9th squad to reorganize. You will be the new captain. Okay, that's fine. Zhang Yi interrupted at the right time, and regretted giving Su Ying the right to speak. Originally they were only talking about Hu Yuan being killed, but Su Ying went so far. Why don't you start with Pangu creating the world? Zhang Yi ruthlessly regained the right to speak. After Sanshang Yangtai died, we noticed that people from the Shengying Society entered the territory of Longguo one after another, but we don't know the specific purpose for the time being. After the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony was held, not long after Hu Yuan led his team to Guling Mountain, he reported to his hallmaster that he found traces of members of the Shengying Society in the mountain. The time of the report was about 3 hours before the conflict with you. After the report, he also vowed that he could act alone and catch those 2 members of the Holy Cherry Club. You know, this guy has always been arrogant and likes to make his own decisions. As you know, he was killed that night. So, when Hu Yuan went to capture the spies of Sakura country, he was killed by the other side? Is this the so-called inside story? Chu Han shook his head, There seems to be no need to keep these secrets from the lower level members, right? If this matter is considered confidential, then the threshold for the internal information of the Royal Knights to become confidential is too low. Zhang Yi laughed dumbly. That's true, but the Presbyterian Church also has their reasons. The Royal Knights in Sakura country have been fighting openly and secretly for many years, and there are tens of thousands of grassroots members. Many of them are the eyes of the other party. Therefore, we control information related to Sakura country more strictly internally. As you know, those old guys from the Presbyterian Church are old and always afraid of things. Yes. Chu Han nodded. He was not very interested in the other party's internal affairs. Now, he wanted to know something else. Do you think my sister is dead? After saying that, Chu Han raised his eyes and looked at Su Ying, his dark and deep eyes putting a lot of pressure on the other person. From what she just said, Chu Han also heard something. These old team members seem to be planning to reorganize the original 9th team. And I want to be the new captain. In other words, to put it cruelly, they have given up on Chu Shi. Chu Han was not in the mood to ask why they would consider letting an outsider in as captain. What he was more concerned about was the attitude of these old team members towards his sister's disappearance. When Chu Han asked this question, Su Ying suddenly became nervous and looked at Zhang Yi for help at a loss. Zhang Yi smiled bitterly. I also want to know why. Chu Han took a long breath, suppressed his emotions, and asked, so you haven't found any clues for so long? We didn't. Su Ying was about to cry, and her mouth that had been chattering just now stopped. So what is this, a mascot? However, it's not like I have no clue. You know, there are people in the guild who hope that Captain Chu Shi will never come back, so it will be very difficult to investigate. I assure you that all members of the original 9th team have never given up or thought about giving up on investigating the captain. Isn't it said that everyone in Team 9 is an elite? The reason why we are rushing to reorganize the team now is because of Sister Cece. She wants to reunite the old team members and gather strength to break through some obstacles. He didn't expect that Su Ying would collapse if he put a little pressure on her. Zhang Yi paled. Captain Chu Zai's mission to hunt down the flower demon on the other side was directly assigned by the Council of Elders. We really have no way of knowing the details. Zhang Yi shrugged gloatingly, thinking to himself, don't you love to talk nonsense? Explain yourself. Chu Han was speechless. Chu Han, you don't have to doubt our loyalty to Captain Chu Shi. She is the soul of our 9th team. Why? Chu Han couldn't calm down. Seeing that it was almost done, Zhang Yi opened his mouth to save Su Ying. At least we now know that the appearance of the flower demon on the other side is related to an old evil god in the Sakura kingdom, Yamada no Orochi. My sister has always been kind to others and has a Buddhist personality. How could anyone want to kill her? Chapter 128I, Chu Han, 1 is 100, Yamada no Orochi? The old evil god in the territory of Sakura kingdom? So, my sister's disappearance is related to Sakura country? Chu Han frowned. This matter might be more complicated than he imagined. Zhang Yi nodded. From the clues we have so far, it looks like this. It was related to the Sakura kingdom, and it involved the old evil god with a higher serial number. Chu Han only felt his head grow bigger again. He carefully recalled the notes of the old evil god that he peeked at in Shen Xingchen's room. The serial number of Yamada no Orochi should be ranked 12th. And the flower demon on the other side is sequence 44. Is there any relationship between these two old evil gods? Chu Han murmured. Zhang Yi squeezed his chin and said while thinking, the evil god of the past is a special kind of monster. From the era of job change for all people, those ordinary monsters and bosses are only guarded in fixed maps or secret realms, and will not cross the range. Only the old evil gods, they seem to have broken this restriction and can act freely. Chu Han nodded. He agreed with this. Because of this, the dark heavenly dragon was able to travel thousands of miles to the secret realm of the graduation trial to chase and kill him. There is also the patriarch of the white fox that I met last time. It is also because it belongs to the old evil gods that it can run around and seek reincarnation opportunities for the group. And its clan members can only stay within the scope of the map they belong to and cannot come out. Thinking of this, Chu Han suddenly remembered that he still has a hidden mission on him. I don't know when we can find the white fox family. In addition, there is a key to the quadruple secret realm, so I have to find a way to unseal it quickly, and then go to clear the secret realm. A hidden mission, a quadruple secret realm, are all rare adventures, and rewards are definitely indispensable. But the most important thing is to investigate the matter of my sister. On the other side, Zhang Yi continued. I have checked a lot of information, and as far as I know, there is actually a class division among the old evil gods. Some low-sequence old evil gods will become servants of high-sequence evil gods. For example, the flower demon on the other side, its appearance is probably to wake up the Yamada no Orochi. Is Yamada no Orochi still awake? Chu Han asked at the right time. That's for sure. Zhang Yi replied decisively, with the strength of Yamada no Orochi, if it wakes up, it will definitely bring about a big disaster. Chu Han nodded. Up to this point, he felt that it was time for this conversation to end. Any more delay, I'm afraid Elder Ni is about to kill him. Chu Han understood that he was his precious lump now, and he couldn't tolerate any mistakes. Of course, it's hard to say whether it will be like this after the Zhenwu Grand ceremony is over. What plans do you have going forward? Chu Han asked. Without hesitation, Zhang Yi replied directly. Let's start with the case of Hu Yuan's murder. The people from the Sakura Kingdom are definitely the best clues. We will be able to find out something about Captain Chu Shi if we follow the clues. How to check? Chu Han continued to ask. The easiest way is a blanket search, Zhang Yi said confidently. Hearing this, Chu Han was slightly surprised. Guling Mountain only developed a small area on the top of the mountain as the venue for the Zhenwu Grand ceremony. In other places, there is still endless forest vegetation. If you want to search out the people hiding inside in a blanket manner, the workload is not small, at least thousands of people must be dispatched. It seemed that the royal knights really took Hu Yuan's death seriously and were able to send so many people to participate in the investigation. But, with so many people, wouldn't they be able to alert the enemy? Chu Han was a little worried. How many search personnel are there in total? Zhang Yi looked around and pointed at the people in the room. 1 2 3 4, when he counted to 4, he pointed at Chu Han. They're all here, 4 of them in total. Chu Han. 4? What are you making a fuss about? Do you know how big Guling Mountain is? Even if there are not thousands of people coming, there must be at least a few hundred people, right? Zhang Yi scratched his head, but, we are all elites with 1 against 100. Immediately, he looked at Chu Han. Aren't you? Chu Han's expression froze on his face. He was stunned for a moment, and said word by word, it's damn true. The damn clear self-awareness in his heart made Chu Han unable to deny this fact. That's it. Zhang Yi clapped his hands. Have a good rest tonight and start searching for people in the mountains tomorrow. Wait. Chu Han grinned. I have a competition tomorrow. You know, our elders attach great importance to this Zhenwu ceremony. Zhang Yi was very disdainful. You are already the reserve captain of our 9th team. Why do you care about the results of other guilds? I didn't agree to be the chief captain either. Thinking in his mind, Chu Han looked upright and said straightforwardly. I want to do my own thing in my position. Now that I am still a member of the Shaolin Church, I have to take responsibility. Zhang Yi shrugged. It's up to you, but you don't have to take it too seriously. You won't win the championship anyway. Chu Han was startled. What do you mean? I'll speak. Su Ying took advantage of every opportunity and quickly grabbed the right to speak. Anyway, the business was finished, so Zhang Yi let her go. Because, Insect King, Xiao Zhou is coming. He is the #1 ruthless person in our guild. Even Wing God is no match for him, Su Ying said excitedly. Zhang Yi coughed and hurriedly corrected. Be more rigorous, I'm on a 50-50 basis with him. Chu Han looked at the two of them and was puzzled. What is the Insect King? Does it have anything to do with this competition? I have seen the 3 guys in your guild participating in the competition. They're vulnerable. Hearing this, Zhang Yi smiled and said, you don't seem to even understand the rules. It's like this. At this point, he stopped abruptly. Su Ying opened her big eyes and looked at Zhang Yi pitifully. Her eyes flashed as if she was pleading. Let me say. Zhang Yi had no choice but to spread his hands and shut his mouth. After succeeding, Su Ying smiled brightly and said to Chu Han. That's it, each participating guild has the right to make 1 substitution. Xiao Zhou from our guild was originally the #1 seed candidate, but he was busy with tasks and did not participate in the group stage. In 2 days, he will be back. Starting from the quarterfinals, our #1 seed will be changed to Xiao Zhou. He is a knight and a summoner with 8th level professions. You have no chance of winning against him. It turns out that there is such a trump card, but it's normal. The 3 guys now are really not worthy of the reputation of the royal knights. After hearing what Su Ying said, Chu Han did not express his position and said calmly, we'll see when the time comes. After saying that, he stood up and left the room. After Chu Han left, Zhang Yi stretched out and said, okay, let's all rest. We'll start looking for someone tomorrow. We need to find those Sakura Japs as soon as possible and let Chu Han kill them. Only with meritorious deeds can we join the guild. Then, he walked towards the bathroom. The moment he opened the door, he turned around and said, by the way, Su Ying, please report to Sister Cece what happened to Chu Han today. Su Ying stopped at the door of the bedroom and blinked. I can't contact her right now. Sister Cece is currently on a 9-turn mission. Chapter 129 In this world, only moonlight and beauties can live up to it. Back in the suite, Chu Han slammed his body onto the sofa, grabbed the cushions to cover his face, and began to digest the information he received tonight. From the conversation with Zhang Yi, we can know that they don't know much about the ins and outs of Chu Zai's disappearance. Back then, when they went to hunt the flower demon on the other side, it was the elders who skipped the middle layers of cadres and directly assigned tasks to Chu Shi, who was the team leader. This is indeed a bit weird. It's a pity that the level and status of the Presbyterian Church are too high. Even Zhang Yi, who claims to be a member of the elite, cannot reach that level. What a waste. Thinking that he had just entered the spiritual cultivation church and pretended to be Shen Xingchen, chatting happily with other elders in the conference hall, Chu Han couldn't help but make a very objective evaluation of Zhang Yi. But fortunately, the vice captain who hasn't shown up yet seems to be more reliable. After seeing her, maybe more useful information will be obtained. Don't worry, take it one step at a time. Let's talk to Zhang Yi and the others about finding out the spies of the Cherry Blossom Kingdom hidden in Guling Mountain. Taking a deep breath, Chu Han removed the cushion covering his face and slowly opened his eyes. When he regained his sight, he saw 5 big faces forming a circle against the light, looking down at him from above. F*K. Chu Han's heart was beating violently, and he almost passed out at that time, and then sat up. Teng. You. What are you doing? Looking at Ni Li, Juniper and the 3 elders, Chu Han clutched his beating heart, unable to ask questions. We are very worried about you. Ni Li took a step forward with concern, carefully examining Chu Han's body. They didn't make things difficult for you, did they? It's okay. Chu Han didn't intend to tell the truth. I chatted with them, cleared up the suspicion of murder, and came back. Elder Ni Chen stared at Chu Han with blazing eyes. The brats of the Royal Knights are very difficult to deal with. How did you clear the suspicion? Chu Han grinned. I told them that when Hu Yuan died, I stayed in the room. Elder Ni Chen can testify. If you don't believe me, just ask him. As soon as those people heard your name, they were scared at the time, so they didn't dare to embarrass me too much. Of course, I also adhered to the spirit of mutual assistance and provided them with some of what I saw that night, so I came back a little later. As for whether they can extract useful clues from it, that's none of our business. Well, not bad. Ni Chen was very helpful to this little flatterer, and he was not stingy in praising him. You handled this matter very well, and your approach is very mature. Speaking of which, there are people in Guling Mountain who dared to kill members of the Royal Knights. It seems that this place is not peaceful. But don't worry, with our 3 elders around, we will definitely not put you in danger. Yes, yes. Chu Han continued to smile. My sense of security is already overwhelmed. Elder Ni, if I have nothing to do, I'll go to bed. There's still a match tomorrow. Okay, everyone, let's rest, Ni Chen ordered, and everyone returned to their bedrooms. Finally prevaricated, Chu Han lay on the bed and began to sort out the context. Judging from the known situation, the most effective way is to go to the Council of Elders of the Royal Knights and ask for the details of the damn mission. In this way, we can know where my sister went to hunt and kill the flower demon on the other side. But this path is obviously unworkable. Chu Han didn't even understand the internal organizational structure of their guild, let alone come into contact with the Elders' Council, which holds the highest power. As for Zhang Yi and the others, it was also obvious that they couldn't be counted on. What a waste. Chu Han sighed again. Other than that, we can only follow the ideas provided by Zhang Yi to hunt down the spies of the Sakura country lurking in Guling Mountain. The flower demon of the other side is related to the Yamada no Orochi, and the Yamada no Orochi is closely related to the Sakura country. If everything goes well, we can follow the clues and find out step by step the hiding place of the flower demon on the other side from these cherry blossom people. Judging from the divination results of Master Yao Shengyu, my sister and the flower demon from the other side are still together. As long as I find this old evil god, I can find my sister. Therefore, the most feasible way at present is to work with Zhang Yi and others to find out those hateful Sakura people first. These rats that never see the light of day may be of great use. Snap. After thinking about it, Chu Han turned off the light, closed his eyes and fell asleep. At this time, the lights were brightly lit in another room. You're crazy. It's been so long and you're still thinking about women. Shi Tianyang looked like he was hating the iron, and his tone sounded like he was lecturing his incompetent grandson. Opposite him was the dejected monk Sanju. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, no one would have imagined that the young monk who was so energetic and single-handedly saved Shazhou City would have turned into this appearance. What do you know? Sanju was impatient and seemed a little manic. This world is in a dilapidated state, and only those gentle and beautiful female benefactors can provide comfort. Moreover, they can also bring me endless strength, especially those plump big sisters. Go and find me some. No, Shi Tianyang refused, his gray beard trembling with anger. Your task now is to recuperate and preserve your strength. After the true martial arts ceremony is over, I will never interfere with how you want to indulge yourself. Pushing open the door, Sanju turned around indifferently and said, Don't worry, I will continue to beat you in the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony. Sanju walked away quickly. I have to find the 2 girls. After saying that, he laughed maniacally to the sky and then walked outside. Don't forget, you were defeated by Chu Han just now. What are you going to do? Shi Tianyang was furious, but he did not dare to be too aggressive. Shi Tianyang frowned slightly. What do you mean? Outside the house, a full moon hung in the dark night. Shi Tianyang could feel that the talented monk who had been led into the abyss of corruption by his own hands was slowly out of control. This is the consequence of blaspheming the true Buddha. Immediately, he pulled the corner of his mouth and said mysteriously to Shi Tianyang, I'll get a new power right away. Mere Chu Han can no longer enter the little monk's eyes. Sanju said, if I am a young monk, I must beg you. Sanju sneered disdainfully, Don't worry about it. I have a way to break the black mist that kills people instantly with one move. That guy named Chu Han, I will personally send him to Abbey Hell, so that he will never be reincarnated. What on earth are you going to do? Qi Tianyang yelled behind him. Qi Tianyang said in a deep voice. It is precisely because of this that you should seize the time to improve your strength instead of always thinking about the things inside your crotch. After saying that, he stood up from the soft sofa and walked outside with vain steps. Sanju raised his head slightly and said leisurely, in this world, only the moonlight and the beauty cannot be let down. Good times and beautiful scenery are fleeting. After all, if you piss this guy off, you may not be able to beat him. Chapter 130. I just went to the wrong room. The next morning, the sun was shining, the sky was blue, and it was as clean as if it had been washed. Well, it's a good weather for finding someone. Chu Han lay down in front of the window, sighing helplessly. At the thought of 4 people searching the entire Guling Mountain, Chu Han unconsciously became dizzy, his limbs became weak, and his eyes turned black. What kind of ghost can make such an outrageous plan? Can the royal knights do it? Unable to bear a few slanderous words, Chu Han walked out of the bedroom. After all, the spy of the Cherry Blossom Country is very likely to find clues about his sister, so he can't just give up. All the way out, Chu Han deliberately walked lightly so as not to wake up others. Today is the second day of the group stage. According to the schedule, the Church of Sholing will play against the Church of Killing God around 11 o'clock. In an occasion like the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony where elites gather, the strength of the Killing God Hall seems a bit insufficient. Against the Spiritual Cultivation Church, it basically just gives points. Therefore, Elder Ni Chen also allowed them to get up late today and sleep more to relax. There is no need to be so nervous in a game that must be won. At this time, the doors of the other bedrooms were still tightly closed. Chu Han casually picked up a few pieces of snacks on the table, stuffed them into his mouth, and served them with the overnight herbal tea. He made an appointment with Zhang Yi and the others at 7:30, and it was still early, so Chu Han simply got into the bathroom. The weather is hot now. He spent the whole day by the ring yesterday, and came back very late at night, so he didn't have time to take a shower, and his body smelled of sweat. After taking a quick shower, Chu Han walked out of the bathroom naked, ready to go back to the room and change clothes. Anyway, everyone is still asleep, so he has no cover. Thinking about searching the mountains for a while, Chu Han pushed open the bedroom door with a headache. Then, there was a snoring sound. Huh? Chu Han was stunned. Following the sound, I saw that in a bedroom with a similar layout, Ni Li was lying on the bed and fast asleep. Even though he is usually gentle, he seems a little rough when he snores. I'm Joe, I went to the wrong house. Chu Han was shocked, and cold sweat began to break out. I don't have a piece of my body, rashly broke into other people's bedrooms, and anyone else would have to treat me as a pervert. Swallowing, Chu Han retreated cautiously, exiting Ni Li's bedroom step by step, and then gently closed the door. Snap. The moment the door was closed, there was also the sound of the bolt snapping from the other direction. Chu Han turned his head to look. The door of the apartment was pushed open from the outside, and Lu Hongli, one of the 3 elders, stood at the door, completely dumbfounded. From his point of view, Chu Han was completely naked and looked furtive, with his right hand still holding the doorknob of Ni Li's bedroom, as if he was going to sneak in quietly. He looks like this, what is he going in for? Lu Hongli's brain was unable to process such complex information, and almost crashed. No, it's not. Elder Lu, I just went to the wrong house. Chu Han quickly explained, trying to keep his image. Ah, really? Lu Hongli replied dryly. Immediately, he looked down at Chu Han, glanced at the jingling pendant, and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Maybe I'm freaking out, I'm going to sleep for a while. The embarrassing atmosphere was suffocating, and Lu Hongli hurriedly fled the scene and returned to his bedroom. The moment the door was closed, a faint sentence came out. Good guy, this young man. Chu Hansheng had nothing to love, so he went back silently to get dressed and then went out. Shunlong Villa was backed by a stone peak, and Chu Han found a half-dead Chinese pine tree, which was the place where he met Zhang Yi and the others. Just go to the mountain to search for people, why do you need to meet first? Seeing that Zhang Yi and the others were already waiting here, Chu Han walked over directly and complained first. Zhang Yi was whispering something to his 2 temporary subordinates. When he heard Chu Han's voice, he also greeted him. Team action, of course, with a team brain to make the plan, like me. Hey, let me announce that I will be the leader of the Suyama team this time, and everything must be under my command. A huge team of only 4 people. I'm afraid that your pig's brain will be overloaded when planning. After a few words of yin and yang in his heart, Chu Han cooperated and asked, then what plan do you have? Zhang Yi's face was immature in line with his age, but at this time he was pretending to be mature, which seemed a little funny. However, Chu Han also understood that under this immature appearance was a knight who had reached rank 8. At the age of 16, he has already reached rank 8. In the world of job changers, he can be said to be a genius in heaven. More importantly, this young genius has the same goal as himself, to find the missing Chu Shi. Therefore, Chu Han felt that it was nothing if he ordered him temporarily. I've already made up my mind, Zhang Yi said. We have limited manpower, so this time Sushan can't act together. We have to separate to improve efficiency. Well, I agree. Chu Han nodded expressionlessly. Which side am I in charge of? Tell me, I'll go now. Don't worry, don't worry. Zhang Yi stopped him, then pointed at the two people beside him. You and Sister Qinqin are on the same team, and Su Ying and I are on the same team. We will split into two teams. What? Divided into two groups. Chu Han almost suspected that he heard it wrong. No, my captain, have you figured out the situation yet? There are only 4 of us. To face such a big mountain, even if we are all separated, we have to find the year of the monkey. You still think of a team of 2? After being questioned by Chu Han for a while, Zhang Yi unexpectedly did not refute, but blushed slightly, hesitating and speechless. At this time, Su Ying saw Zhang Yi's embarrassment, so she walked over with a funny face, and whispered beside Chu Han. Yi Shen is timid, and he dare not walk alone in the mountains and forests. That's why he thought about teaming up in 2 groups. Hearing this, Chu Han's eyes went dark again. He who had already given up hope for this action became even more desperate at this time. She was too timid to stay alone in the mountains. There were so many pitfalls that Chu Han didn't know where to start throwing up. With a long breath, Chu Han relaxed. Then I don't need to form a team, I will go by myself. After finishing speaking, Chu Han turned around and left, ready to go in any direction. Don't be brave, Zhang Yi said with a serious expression. According to the information provided by Hu Yuan before his death, there were 2 spies in the Cherry Blossom country, and there might actually be more. It's better to be around. Don't worry, I have companions. Chu Han stopped and summoned Xiao He. A bone horse full of depravity appeared out of nowhere, bathed in a dark atmosphere. The 2 blue will-o'-the-wisps in its eye sockets stared vigilantly at the other people present. Beware that the other party would hurt its unreliable master. F*K. Your horse is so handsome. As soon as Xiao He appeared, Zhang Yi's eyes lit up, as if seeing the most exquisite artwork in the world. He couldn't help but shed a few drops of saliva. Chu Han frowned slightly. His expression was not quite right. What are you talking about? Say it again and let me hear what's going on. Are you scolding? Chu Han was not sure. Zhang Yi turned a deaf ear to it, and smiled with an idiot's face. He couldn't help but began to reach out and stroke the bone horse. The white bones exuding a deep chill, as well as the secluded and enchanting flames in the body, all make people yearn for it. No man can refuse. Xiao He resisted very much, groaning and dodging backwards. It has already determined that what is in front of it is not an enemy, and without the master's order, it did not show any aggressiveness. On the other side, Su Ying seemed to be frightened by Xiao He's ferocious and terrifying appearance, and took several big steps back while holding Wu Qinqin's arm. Chu Han looked at these 3 people with complicated expressions. Since Wu Qinqin appeared, she hadn't spoken a word, and she was suspected to be in the advanced stage of autism. Su Ying, on the other hand, was the complete opposite, a group of talkative ones, suitable for going to the village to sit and chat wildly with old ladies. Plus Zhang Yi, the team leader whose maturity is questionable. This is the investigation team sent by the Royal Knights to take charge of the murder of Hu Yuan. Okay, enough touching. Hurry up and get down to business. Chu Han interrupted Zhang Yi, who looked like a fool, and rescued Xiao He. Seeing that Chu Han was about to leave on his horse, Zhang Yi hurriedly stopped him. I was too busy petting your horse, and I forgot to tell you something important. Chu Han frowned, ignored his suspected curse words, and asked with the last bit of patience, what's the matter? It's good news. Zhang Yi giggled. Sister Cece, do you still remember? Chu Xiying. Chu Han immediately remembered the former vice-captain of the 9th team. I remember. What's wrong? Zhang Yi said. She has now received the mission of rank 9. After she succeeds in rank 9, she can enter the Elders' Council. As long as she enters the Presbyterian Church, she will have access to files and materials with high authority levels in the guild. At that time, she might be able to figure out what happened to Captain Chu Shi back then. Chapter 131. You are miserable, you have fallen in love. Hearing Zhang Yi's words, Chu Han almost burst into tears. Fortunately, there are still reliable people in the former 9th team. My sister's old department, after all, isn't all trash. However, judging from the meaning of Zhang Yi's words, the Presbyterian Council of the Royal Knights absolutely knew the inside story. But they never made it public, and never sent anyone to find and rescue Chu Shi. What is the reason? Hu Yuan was killed, and the guild at least set up a special investigation team. As for Chu Shi, they seemed to let her disappear without a trace, and even broke up the team she used to be in. Could it be that this is a conspiracy? My sister was murdered? There are more and more doubts, and the incident is full of fog. At this time, Chu Han could only wait until the deputy captain completed the mission of rank 9, to see if he could get more useful information. Before that, the only thing he could do was to carry out this stupid Suyama plan. Okay, I get it. Chu Han nodded, then patted Xiao He's spine. Xiao He understood, and immediately spread out a pair of bone wings, and rushed into the sky amidst Zhang Yi's exclamation. After hovering over the forest for a while, Chu Han felt the vastness of Guling Mountain. The undulating hills are so lush that you can't see the edge at a glance, and some places are even surrounded by clouds and mist, which is quite a bit of fairyland, mysterious and peaceful. However, Chu Han couldn't calm down now. Looking for two people in such a big place? Are you kidding about the universe? Or set it on fire? Chu Han still thinks he is very good at things like setting fire to mountains. But that way, it won't do anything except scare the snake. What's more, this is Guling Mountain. If he really burns it down, the officials will not let it go, and might use the power of the Longwu department to arrest him. Giving up on this ridiculous idea, Chu Han drove Xiao He into the forest. After opening the map, confirming his coordinates, and then privately chatting with Zhang Yi, Chu Han began to look at the surrounding environment. There must be many dangers in the ancient forests in the deep mountains that have existed for many years, as you can tell from the roars of beasts in the air from time to time. But with Chu Han's current strength, he doesn't have to worry about ordinary monsters. Xiao He, go over there and call me if you find something. After pointing to Xiao He, Chu Han walked to the other side. Although he didn't have any hope for this operation, Chu Han still maximized his efficiency and searched separately from Xiao He. In the ancient forest that has been silent for many years, the ground is covered with dead branches and rotten leaves. It is a bit sticky and uncomfortable to step on. Enduring the discomfort, Chu Han unfolded the wind spear wings to protect himself and then walked inside step by step. Whoosh! Not far away, there was a strange movement. The sound of breaking through the air sounded from behind, and Chu Han instinctively stepped forward. But the force behind him was fast, almost exceeding the speed of sound. Snapped! It hit directly, and before it touched Chu Han, it was bounced away by the vortex of air around Feng Ling's wings. -4,875,153. You killed the flying snake and gained 7,492 experience points. Close black lens bracket. When the system prompt came, Chu Han looked intently. A small light green snake was bounced onto the tree trunk, then fell to the ground, curled up and twitched a few times, then fell silent, bursting out a few gold coins. With only more than 7,000 experience points, it seems that the level of this little snake is not high. Looking down, the little snake had nothing to drop except gold coins. Just as he was about to move forward, Chu Han suddenly discovered that small green snakes began to emerge densely on the ancient tree beside him. The ancient trees here are all old guys over 100 years old, and they are often as thick as a few people's hugs. Those little snakes crawl on them, wriggling like large caterpillars. Chu Han took a rough look and found that there were more than a dozen ancient trees around, and there were at least tens of thousands of little flying snakes crawling on them. And where I can't see, I don't know how many more. Purgatory. The habitual fire-type forbidden curse started, but Chu Han stopped in time. Avoid getting in trouble, or don't burn it, haunting dance. Controlling the release force, Chu Han only emptied the area of tens of meters around him, but his experience value increased a lot. It seems that there are indeed many little flying snakes hiding in the dark. If nothing else, this is a good place for leveling. I don't know if Xiao He has run into trouble. Listening quietly, Chu Han didn't hear the sound of fighting, so he was relieved. Since the mutation of devouring the magic pupil of lamentation, Xiao He's strength has also been greatly improved, and he has also learned several new skills. There shouldn't be any danger in this forest. Chu Han didn't bother to pick up the dropped items and continued to walk forward. As he explored forward, he cleaned up the monsters that were about to move around him, and at the same time, he also paid attention to whether there were traces left by people around him. The ancient forest is very quiet, seemingly isolated from the world, and any mundane noise is blocked out. After staying for a long time, an unspeakable feeling of depression rose from the bottom of my heart. As time passed, Chu Han became more and more sure of his idea. Su Shan was an extremely stupid plan. If it wasn't about Chu Shi, he wouldn't want to stay here anymore. At this moment, a long neighing sound came from the distance. It's Xiao He. When they separated, Chu Han told it that he would use a hissing sound to remind him when he discovered the situation. Could it be that it really hit him by mistake and found the Sakura country spy hiding in the mountains? F***K. Chu Han was pleasantly surprised. Su Shan is really a wonderful idea. Without much delay, Chu Han spread his wings and flew as fast as possible in the direction of Xiao He's voice. Xiao He's neighing kept coming, and his voice seemed to be mixed with some joy and anxiety. Chu Han flew into the air, followed the sound to lock his position, and then landed quickly. Re-entering the forest, Chu Han quickly discovered Xiao He's figure. It was running wildly at this time, its four hooves turning into afterimages like the wind, as if it was chasing something, and it kept neighing from its mouth. What on earth did this boy find? Chu Han felt strange and tried his best to catch up with Xiao He and ride on its back. At this time, he finally saw a frightened pink pony dozens of meters in front of Xiao He, running away in a panic. Damn. Chu Han understood instantly. I asked you to find someone, why don't you just leave it to pick up girls? Xiao He, stop. Chu Han tried to stop Xiao He, but the kid had already fallen into madness and his speed did not slow down at all. Chu Han was riding on a horse full of bones, and his butt hurt from the jolt. After chasing for an unknown amount of time, the little pink horse suddenly stopped. A cliff appeared in front of it, and below it was a bottomless valley. Xiao He also stopped suddenly and kept a few meters away from the little pink horse, as if he was too embarrassed to get close. Chu Han jumped off the horse and found that the blue will-o'-the-wisps in Xiao He's eyes had turned into the shape of hearts, showing his admiration for the little pink horse. But the little pink pony, who was near the abyss, was dismissive and even a little disgusted when faced with Xiao He's expression of love. Chu Han shook his head regretfully. It's over, Xiao He, people think we are ugly. With one word, the light in Xiao He's eyes was immediately extinguished, and the shape of the heart instantly broke into tears. Woo! At this time, the little pink horse raised its front hooves, neighed delicately, and was immediately enveloped in the pale pink holy light. Bathed in the magical light, a unicorn appeared on its forehead, and gorgeous wings sprouted from its back, like a spiritual beast full of divinity. Not to mention Xiao He, even Chu Han was attracted by its transformation and couldn't help but step forward to check it out. Name: Shangfei Yanxiao. Nickname: Lele. Level: LV.212. Besides the Sakura spy, there are other people in this deep mountain and old forest. Feng Xiao. Feng Xiao. This is not the name of a Sakura countryman. What are they doing here? Open black lens bracket spirit. 7124 close black lens bracket. Agility. 4765. Physique. 5975. Open black lens bracket wisdom. 6791 close black lens bracket. There is an owner. This little pink horse is not a wild monster. Open black lens bracket power. 4004 close black lens bracket. Just when Chu Han was doubting, the little pink horse spread its wings, jumped up, jumped off the cliff gracefully, and then flew away into the distance. When Chu Han saw this, he sighed and caressed the horse's head slightly, feeling distressed. Master. Feng Xiao. Skills: Crimson Retrospection, Floating Shadow, Fleeting Shadow, Shimmering Holy Rain, Frightening Sea Tide. Generally, pet beasts will not be too far away from their owners. In other words, there are other people in the ancient forest nearby. You're miserable, you're in love. Xiao He stayed where he was and did not pursue him any further. He lowered his head and moaned softly, his aggrieved voice full of sorrow and inferiority. Level: Holy Beast. Chapter 132. The little pink horse who has gone and returned. The little black one is numb. Woo! Xiao He let out a mournful sound, filled with indescribable sorrow and sadness. Chu Han looked at its useless appearance, feeling pitiful and funny. After softly comforting him a few words, Chu Han looked in the direction where the little pink horse disappeared, and frowned. The huge deep mountain and old forest should be a no man's land, but unexpectedly found a pet beast with an owner. Chu Han really wanted to chase after him to see who was here. But after thinking about it, there are many monsters in this forest. Although the environment is harsh, it is still a good place for leveling. It is reasonable for someone to spawn monsters here. Furthermore, maybe there is a secret land coming here, and someone came here after getting the news. This possibility is not impossible. Most importantly, with his and Xiao He's speed, they couldn't catch up with that little pink horse. After weighing it over and over again, Chu Han decided not to worry about it. After all, his target was the spy of Sakura. Let's go, Xiao He, keep working. Touching Xiao He's face that had long since disappeared, Chu Han said with a smile. At this time, Xiao He was still immersed in the sadness of losing his love, and turned a deaf ear to Chu Han's words, and did not give the slightest reaction. Forget it, you still follow me. Seeing that Xiao He had lost his will to fight, Chu Han was worried about it acting alone, so he let it follow him. At this moment, it was 3 poles above the sun, and the hot sun slowly rose to the top of the head, and began to emit power, turning the earth into a steamer. Now, the advantages in the forest are reflected. Although there are plants everywhere, which is prone to visual fatigue, but the dense jungle also completely blocks the sun, which is quite cool. Chu Han moved forward strictly according to the route planned in advance, but never found anything. Fortunately, this situation was expected a long time ago, and he did not feel disappointed. After all, Suyama was just a stupid plan, and what Chu Han was really looking forward to was the vice captain who was about to reach rank 9. A rank 9 professional would be a pivotal figure wherever he was placed. What's more, the deputy captain should not be too old, and the royal knights will definitely attach great importance to it. With the support of the senior members of the Presbyterian Church, she must be able to investigate Chu Zai's affairs more conveniently. Wait for the good news. Thinking in his heart, Chu Han went deeper and deeper. The scene in the forest seems to be repeated forever, and every once in a while, he will have the illusion of, have you been here just now? Just like these big trees around me now, they're very similar to those when I was attacked by the little flying snake. Regardless of the breed or the degree of stoutness, the similarity is very high. There are also little flying snakes emerging from the tree trunk, which are exactly the same as before. A few black lines fell on Chu Han's head. These little fellows are really lingering, they even caught up and surrounded themselves. That's okay, let's have another wave of experience from you guys. Haunting Dance. The old trick was repeated, and the forbidden spell of the wind system ravaged the mountains and forests, clearing the surrounding 100-meter range in an instant. Chu Han maximized his control over the magic elements, and his skills were just right enough to kill monsters without causing too much damage to the ancient trees in the forest. A skill cleared the screen, and before Chu Han could move, he heard another rustling sound. A few seconds later, countless little flying snakes emerged from every corner, and there were small green figures on the trees and underground. What's the situation? Chu Han was a little depressed. These guys are not afraid of death. After killing a wave, another wave will appear immediately. Moreover, he was not in a hurry to launch an attack, as if he was a well-trained soldier waiting for an order. Chu Han couldn't figure it out. They just surrounded here, staring and not moving. What on earth were they trying to do? Can you still make yourself pregnant? Forget it. Let's talk about it after killing. Anyway, it's all free experience. Entangling. Rumble. Just as Chu Han raised his hand to release his skills, suddenly the ground began to shake, followed by a violent shock. Chu Han jumped lightly, spread his wings and floated in the air. Xiao He also came back to his senses, and followed beside Chu Han. The tremor became stronger and stronger, and soon, cracks appeared on the ground, and a bottomless gully appeared, as if a hole had been torn open on the ground. Chu Han looked intently. A huge gray-green figure slowly and heavily emerged from the cracks in the ground, raising its terrifyingly huge head. It's a giant snake. Perhaps it was because of its long sleep in the ground. No scales could be seen on its body. Instead, it was replaced by an armor made of mud and rocks, all over its body. In addition, what is even more bizarre is that 6 fleshy wings protruded from the giant snake's body. The fleshy wings are about 10 meters long, and the wings are outlined with ancient Austrian patterns, which looks strange and treacherous. Just when Chu Han was startled, the giant underground snake had been unearthed completely. It escaped from the cracks in the ground, and under the eyes of countless little flying snakes, it straightened its front half and roared to the sky. Roar! A huge dust curtain was stirred up, and the sand broke through the ancient forest, covering the sky and the sun. Chu Han stepped back to check the giant snake's information. Name: Seraphim Ancestor, Extreme Boss, Attribute: Monster. Open black lens bracket level. LV.250 close black lens bracket, health volume, 80 million. Open black lens bracket physique, 11,753 close black lens bracket open black lens bracket power, 1381 close black lens bracket open black lens bracket wisdom, 9,873 close black lens bracket open black lens bracket agility, 8,411 close black lens bracket open black lens bracket spirit, 8,834 close black lens bracket combat power value, 221,417, snake ancestor? It turned out that these little beasts knew that they were invincible, so they awakened the ancestors. Chu Han looked disdainful. So what if the old ones come? Just call them. Call out. Before Chu Han could cast the forbidden spell, Xiao He next to him suddenly became angry. His body turned into a black streamer, and he rushed up. She was immersed in the grief of losing her love and wanted to die, but was suddenly interrupted by this ugly thing that doesn't know how to style. It's strange if she doesn't get angry. Seeing this, Chu Han didn't stop it and let it vent. After absorbing the magic pupil of lamentation, Xiao He's strength increased greatly, and Chu Han also wanted to see how far this kid had grown. It shouldn't be a big problem to let the 420 level supreme boss practice with it. With a long cry, Xiao He started the blood moon killing sacrifice, and the black devilish energy wrapped in scarlet ripples exploded from his body in an instant. In terms of the buff arrangement, Xiao He's attributes increased explosively. It expands the speed to the extreme, approaching the huge body of the Seraphim ancestor in the blink of an eye. Laugh. When Xiao He releases his skills, he moves freely, and when he seizes the right opportunity, 2 scarlet rays burst out from his pupils. Destroy Aurora. This was the skill of the boss Cyclops when he was doing the 6th rank mission. Chu Han had died once under this move. Boom. The 2 rays hit the snake ancestor's body at the same time, without causing any damage to it, only smashing the mudstone armor, exposing the blue snake scales inside. Chu Han shook his head in disappointment. After all, Xiao He's level is still too low. Facing the Earth-type boss who is good at defense, the damage is still not enough. However, there must be a big gap between the mere master-level boss and Xiao He who is a beast, so Chu Han was not in a hurry to make a move. On the other side, the Seraphim ancestor took the next blow, and immediately shook his huge head, which seemed to be a bit mocking and provocative. Xiao He, who had already fallen into a rage, couldn't bear this. It shakes its wings again and meets the snake ancestor. A dark and surging wave surges under the flapping of its wings. Embrace of the Styx. The water of the river Styx carrying the breath of death possesses endless dark power. Panic suddenly appeared in the vertical pupils of Snake Ancestor, and it could also feel that it could not bear this dark wave, so it hurriedly dodged, and the lines on the wing membrane also flashed strange lights. The earth-gray energy breath envelops the whole body, which is obviously a defensive skill. As if feeling that it was not enough, Snake Ancestor controlled his snake son and grandson to rush towards the wave in an attempt to block the attack. But these little flying snakes have no resistance, and they disappear in an instant when they encounter the Kuroshio. And the momentum of the wave was not hindered, and continued to cover the sky and cover the earth, rushing towards the snake ancestor. Due to its large body, the seraphim ancestor's fleshy wings had long since lost the ability to fly. Facing the raging tide at this time, it cannot avoid it, so it can only bite the bullet and roar to meet it. Chi wave after layer, the earth-yellow defensive aura on snake ancestor's body was quickly diluted, and finally completely extinguished. Even the mudstone armor on its body was washed away by the Kuroshio and scattered all over the ground, no longer having any protective effect. On the ground of the ancient forest, the seraphim ancestor whose stone armor was crushed was like a big girl whose clothes were stripped, hiding everywhere, not daring to face Xiao He. Xiao He in midair was extremely manic, the grief of losing his love turned into a desire to kill, his pupils flickered with strange lights, and the CD for destroying the aurora had already been turned. Poor little black. Chu Han turned his head to look. Seeing the little pink horse go and come back, Xiao He is both happy and surprised. Two scarlet rays of light shot out again, and the unprotected snake ancestor had almost no hope of surviving. This little fan has clearly recognized his master, why did he come to rescue a wild monster? But, more importantly, the little pink horse just cruelly rejected Xiao He's courtship, but at this moment, he saved its enemy regardless of the danger of his life. In desperation, it swung the horse's head, which affected Rei's attack trajectory to the greatest extent. Could it be that he was ordered by his master to grab the boss? As expected, and just when the light was about to shoot through its head and heart, a pink figure suddenly appeared, standing in front of the snake ancestor bravely. But in front of this magic horse, it seemed so vulnerable, which made it lose its previous arrogance. It just wanted to find a crack in the ground and go back to sleep again. Its whole horse is numb. But if this is the case, they can wait for themselves to kill the boss and then appear to snatch the spoils. Why bother to act now? In the end, destroying Aurora avoided the little pink horse and shot through 2 rows of thick ancient trees, causing them to wither instantly and lose their vitality. Chu Han was surprised when he saw this sudden change. This is so weird. As an Earth-type monster, defense is its most proud ability. Not far away, Xiao He stood still in the air, watching the scene on the ground helplessly. Chapter 133 Winged Gods Conjecture, Sakura Country in Yamada no Orochi. Deep mountains and old forests, deep and winding paths. A giant silver wolf walked slowly like a stroll on the fallen leaves. Haoyue Sirius, Zhang Yi's mount. At this time, its owner was leisurely lying on the back of the wolf, enjoying the unique coolness and tranquility in the forest. On the left side of the giant wolf are a big red bird and a blue elephant, carrying Su Ying and Wu Qinxin respectively. The 3 of them remained silent without saying a word. The loose sunlight pierced through the gaps in the branches and leaves, warming the passing breeze. The atmosphere is just right and sleepy. Su Ying sat on the bird's back, looking a little uneasy. Didn't you say that you came to search the mountain to find someone? Why is it like traveling in mountains and rivers now? After struggling for a long time, she finally couldn't help but speak, and said to Zhang Yi, Ye God, when shall we start looking? Hearing the sound, Zhang Yi slightly opened his sleepy eyes. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? Looking for your lost brain, Su Ying secretly complained. Looking for someone, didn't we come to the mountains to search for spies from the Sakura country? Ha! Zhang Yi stretched his waist, twisted a few times on the wolf's back, and rubbed the itchy back. Stop joking, where can I find such a big mountain? Huh? Su Ying was stunned for a moment, doubtful ripples appeared in her clear eyes. Didn't you say you came to search the mountains? Why? Searching the mountain is not to find them, but to let them find us. Zhang Yi turned his back to the sky and closed his eyes. Su Ying blinked half understanding, then turned to look at Wu Qinxin who was riding on the elephant's back. The latter had an indifferent expression. After hearing Zhang Yi's words, he didn't have any emotional fluctuations. He seemed to have known things would be like this for a long time. Everyone is so calm. Could it be that I am the only one who didn't understand the situation? Originally, she was full of fighting spirit and vowed to search Guling Mountain, but now she was at a loss. Zhang Yi noticed that Su Ying was at a loss, and couldn't help being a little amused, so he stretched and sat up, trying to explain to her. The Guling Mountain is as vast as the sea. With just a few of us, how long will it take to search it all? This is simply unrealistic. Su Ying tilted her head. She was right. Then why are we here? I said it to let the enemy find us, Zhang Yi said. The current situation is that the enemy is out of the dark, and their chances of finding us are far greater than our chances of finding them. What's more, since those Sakura people chose to hide here, they will definitely keep an eye on the situation in the mountains. As long as we hang out here more, we will attract their attention sooner or later. Su Ying scratched her cheek lightly, but she still didn't quite understand. Then won't it startle the snake? What you want is to scare the snake. Zhang Yi clapped his hands. Think about it, if you were a Sakura person, how would you react if you were stunned by the grass? Without waiting for Su Ying to answer, Zhang Yi continued. There are only 2 options, either to retreat, or to speed up the progress to complete the original task. After they were discovered by Hu Yuan before, not only did they not retreat, but they also killed Hu Yuan when Hu Yuan approached them for the second time. So I conclude that this group of Sakura people must have an extremely important mission here, and they will never retreat easily. Su Ying nodded, and her thoughts seemed to be much clearer, so we came to the mountain this time to give them a shot of stimulant, so that they can reveal their purpose earlier. That's right. Zhang Yi said, being targeted by the Royal Knights will put pressure on them to some extent. Su Ying bit her lip thoughtfully, but what is their purpose? Immediately, her eyes lit up, and she looked at Zhang Yi. Yi Shen, you don't already know, do you? Tell me quickly. Wu Qian, who had remained silent all along, also turned her head sideways, wanting to hear Zhang Yi's analysis. Zhang Yi's youthful nature naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity to show off, so he immediately cleared his throat and cleared his mind. Think about it, the Cherry Blossom spies sneaked into the Dragon Kingdom. Why did they choose such a place as Guling Mountain to hide? Although there are vast mountains and forests here, it is easy to hide, but at the same time, it is also the place where the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony is held. In order to maintain law and order, many official guards are stationed here. Furthermore, there are officers of the Longwu department here. In any case, this place is an extremely dangerous place for Sakura spies. Wu Qinqin summed it up in a timely manner. Here is what they want. Zhang Yi smiled, that's right. Su Ying continued to scratch her head. But what do they want? Is there any treasure in this mountain? Zhang Yi was noncommittal, and chuckled lightly. Our guild has fought openly and secretly with Sakura country for so many years, and we have also fought against Shungying society. Although your brain is not very good, you should have a certain understanding of them. Su Ying pursed her lips, obviously not convinced by the evaluation of not very good brains. Zhang Yi continued. This group of things are devoid of humanity and conscience, but they also have an advantage, that is, they are extremely loyal to their own country. Hearing this, Wu Qian's expression on Xingshang's back moved slightly, as if she didn't agree with this statement. She is also an old man of the Royal Knights, and has dealt with many people from the Holy Cherry Club. Those people are brutal, like animals with mental insufficiency, who only know how to invade and plunder. Rather than saying that they are loyal to their own country, it is better to say that they are loyal to their own greed and desire. Wu Qinqin, who was used to silence, did not correct Zhang Yi's words, and continued to listen to his analysis quietly. So I thought about it for a long time. The Holy Cherry Club has been silent for a long time, but suddenly it made frequent moves. First, it sent Mikami Yoda, and now someone sneaked into Guling Mountain. What is the reason? There must be a major event about to happen. After a pause, Zhang Yi continued. Combined with the current time, I thought of another thing. Wu Qian's eyes lit up, and she blurted out, Border Battlefield. The so-called Frontier Battlefield is a very special dungeon of secret realms. The time and place where it appears are fixed, once every 3 years, and it is only refreshed in adjacent areas of 2 countries. That is to say, the more neighboring countries a country has, the more refreshed copies will be. Of course, risks come with benefits. For each border battlefield copy, only 2 sides are allowed to enter a 10-player battle, and the victor will receive a copy reward. The more battlefields that are refreshed, the more chances of getting rewards. Perhaps it is the prosperity of the Dragon Kingdom, and the 14 neighboring countries are all rookies, and each is easier to fight than the other. Only the Sakura Kingdom is a tough nut to crack, but it has never defeated the Dragon Kingdom. Because of this, the Dragon Kingdom relied on the border battlefield to buy a lot of top-quality equipment and props, each of which can be called a heavy weapon of a great country. It is now June, and there are still 3 months before the next border battlefield opens. People from the Holy Cherry Club sneaked into the Dragon Kingdom. Does it have anything to do with this? Su Ying put her index finger against her lips, trying hard to follow Zhang Yi's train of thought, but she failed in the end, so she could only ask. I still don't understand, even if the Sakura people want to defeat us in the frontier battlefield, what's the use of running here now? Wu Qinqin also nodded slightly, not understanding the meaning. Zhang Yi smiled, hee, and pointed to his head, well. You need to use your imagination. Assuming our previous guesses are correct, the people from the Holy Cherry Club came to Dragon Kingdom for the border battlefield 3 months later, then what is their purpose? There are only 2 possibilities, either we are trying to gain strength and increase our strength, or we are trying to weaken our strength. But you also know that every time the Dragon Kingdom enters the frontier battlefield, almost all of them are the top experts in the country. Just relying on these rotten fish and rotten shrimps to want to play assassination, I'm afraid it's a dream? Su Ying understood this paragraph, and quickly nodded frequently, so they want to steal our power, so that they can defeat our Dragon Kingdom on the border battlefield. But it's not right. Almost all the strongest equipment and props in the Dragon Kingdom are kept in the Longwu department. What are they doing in Guling Mountain? Zhang Yi sat cross-legged on the back of the wolf, with his left hand clenched on his chin. Do you think it has something to do with Yamada no Orochi? Yachi Orochi? Looking at the astonished expressions of Su Ying and the other 2, Zhang Yi nodded. Yes. Yamada no Orochi is a monster in the mythology system of Sakura Kingdom. From experience, it must be sleeping in the territory of Sakura. If the Holy Cherry Club takes some risky actions in order to awaken the Yamada no Orochi and gain its power, is it reasonable? Hearing this, Su Ying and Wu Qinqin looked at each other and shook their heads. The risky move you're talking about is sneaking into the Dragon Kingdom. But what does this have to do with awakening Yamada no Orochi? Su Ying asked a question, but she didn't agree with this guess, only feeling that the more she said it, the more outrageous it became. So far, no one has been able to research and understand where the old evil gods came from, but one thing is certain, the existence of the old evil gods is only for destruction and killing. Even if they can find prototypes in the myths and legends of various countries, the old evil gods themselves have no national concept, and they will attack humans indiscriminately. In other words, if the people of Sakura country wake up Yamada no Orochi, the first thing it does when it wakes up is to sink Sakura country to the bottom of the sea. No matter how stupid his bastard Sakuraman is, he wouldn't be so stupid, right? Aware of the doubts of the two, Zhang Yi continued. What if there is the food needed to wake up Yamada no Orochi? Food? You mean? Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows proudly. You know, I have read many books and files, which contain a lot of information. I remember that someone once did something like artificially awakening the old evil gods. They used food in special formations. Although the serial number of Yamada no Orochi is very high and the standard is much higher, I think the principle should be the same. Su Ying was dubious. Then, what is its food? People. Zhang Yi's face turned serious. To be precise, they are boys and girls, and they are boys and girls who have successfully changed jobs and possess extraordinary strength. Oh, I see, so they are eyeing the contestants participating in the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony? Su Ying suddenly realized. Yes. Zhang Yi sat upright and began to conclude, although there are a lot of subjective assumptions on my part, I think the logic makes sense. A year ago, for some reason, the Bana Flower Demon wanted to wake up Yamada no Orochi. Our elders got the news and sent Captain Chu Shi to hunt down the Bana Flower Demon. As a result, Captain Chu Shi successfully prevented Yamada no Orochi from waking up, but he himself was also imprisoned and unable to escape. More than a year later, that is, now, in order to win the frontier battlefield, the Holy Cherry Club also wants to use the power of Yamada no Orochi, so they try to wake it up. As for whether they themselves will be attacked by Yamada no Orochi, I think not. They may have mastered the method to control the evil gods of the past. And the awakening of the Yamada no Orochi requires a large number of young men and women who have successfully transferred jobs as food, so the Shungying Society did not hesitate to put themselves in danger and came to Guling Mountain to arrest people. However, by chance, Hu Yuan saw him and killed him. Su Ying listened carefully and carefully looked for doubts in this logic. What about Mikami Yoda? Why did he sneak into the Assassin's League and pretend to be the president Shang Zhengchu? Zhang Yi nodded. This is an interesting point. If Mikami Yoda plays a role like a scout and just comes to the Dragon Kingdom to explore the road first, he can come here openly. Even if this is not the case, he can still choose a small guild to sail down. You know, the Assassin's League is in Deep Sea City, but it is a second-rate guild after the Spiritual Church. Is it necessary for Mikami Yoda to make it more difficult for himself? Having said this, he paused before continuing, so I have another bold guess. Mikami Yoda chose to take action against the Assassin's League because the Assassin's League headquarters is backed by the sea. If it's close to the sea, it will be easier for them to deliver food to Yamada no Orochi. Because the place where the Yamada no Orochi sleeps is at the bottom of the sea. Yamada no Orochi is returning to the bottom of the sea? Hearing this, Su Ying was already a little dumbfounded. Although Zhang Yi's statement lacks evidence support and many of them are based on speculation, but this logic is so damn smooth. Those who didn't know, thought he was the one who planned these things. At this time, Zhang Yi was lying down again, his body wrapped in thick silver wolf hair. This is the logic I have sorted out so far. Let's wait and see. If any contestants disappear next, it means that my guess is right. After speaking, he sighed inaudibly. In fact, there was another suspicious thing that he didn't mention. That's why after Chu Shi disappeared, all the elders pretended to be deaf and dumb, and no one went to rescue her. Logically speaking, they knew where Chu Zai's accident happened. It is not the style of the Presbyterian Council of the Royal Knights to sit back and watch while a genius in the guild dies. Is there something unspeakable, or is it that someone is afraid of Chu Zai's return? Zhang Yi didn't know, but he could vaguely sense that the truth might be a sharp knife that could hurt people. After stating his conjecture, Zhang Yi talked too much and felt exhausted. Su Ying also fell into silence. Her mind was in a mess and she was trying to sort it out. Only Wu Qinqin remained indifferent from beginning to end. She was sitting on the back of a large green elephant. Suddenly, a burst of movement caught her attention. It was like a roar of an animal, mixed with sounds of fighting. It seems not far away, in the mountains and forests. After listening for a while, Wu Qinqin leaned over slightly and rubbed the ears of the green elephant. The green elephant understood and flapped his ears to activate his skills, and he could see the scene for dozens of kilometers in radius. The mythical beast, awakening green elephant, can perceive a wide range of scenes around it and transform it into pictures to convey to its owner. Wu Qinqin closed her eyes and began to receive the picture information from Qingshang. Soon, she opened her eyes, her expression still indifferent. Everyone, let's get going. Our future new captain seems to be in trouble. Chapter 134 Hidden Occupation, Rising Sun Snake. Xiao He felt like he had fallen into an ice cave, filled with grief and anger. Since its birth, it was emotional for the first time, and it tasted the pain of love. The horse I had my eyes on was standing opposite me at this time, with a snake behind it. And it's a male snake. Is this what it's like to be a Tauren? Has such an outrageous plot happened to you? It hurts, it hurts. Shangfei Yanxiao. Why are you sour and sad? The blue will-o'-the-wisps in the eye sockets danced wildly. At this moment, Xiao He had already arranged thousands of ways to die for the Seraphim ancestor. Xiao Xiao neighed, and the evil spirit of the prison nightmare demon horse released, and the temperature in the cool mountains and forests dropped suddenly, as if facing a sea of ice. Xiao He was full of murderous aura, and the embrace of the Styx was released, and the black wave surged again, heading straight for the Seraph ancestor. Snake ancestor's vertical pupils shrank suddenly, and his huge body twisted wildly. Although the situation in front of him was a little strange, and he didn't understand why the sudden appearance of the little pink horse came to protect him, but his natural instinct made him choose to believe it, and he curled up and hid behind the little pink horse. Perhaps, this little mare was overwhelmed by my ancestor's prestige, and came to me to perform meritorious service and flatter me, in an attempt to make love to my ancestor? Even though I don't have a crotch, however, this little mare has a delicate face, pink and attractive. Although it has crossed species, it is not impossible to give it a try. When evil thoughts arose in his heart, the black wave in front of it also arrived as expected. The six-winged snake ancestor tightened its body, wishing it could hide under the little pink horse's crotch. As expected, when the wave approached, the little pink horse stepped lightly with its front hooves, and bursts of pink mist rose from the ground, forming a barrier. The black wave rushed past, like an iron fist hitting cotton. Although it was powerful, it could not break through. Xiao He didn't panic, he seemed to have expected it. When the little pink horse resisted the black tide, it dodged sideways to the side of the pink mist, and sprayed scarlet rays from its eyes. The damage of the aurora of destruction is extremely exaggerated, and the snake ancestor without the protection of the mud and stone armor will never be able to withstand the blow. Xiao He was determined to kill, but he underestimated the strength of his goddess. Shangfei Yanxiao pushed away the pink mist and shattered the black wave. The moment Xiao He took action, it flashed here and blocked the snake ancestor again. Seeing this, Xiao He shook his head subconsciously, causing the aurora of destruction to deviate from its trajectory. It wasn't sure whether the little pink pony still had defensive skills, and it didn't want to take the risk of getting it hurt. But the little pink horse didn't have so many worries. The moment Xiao He's skill missed, it suddenly rose up and turned into a stream of pink light, hitting Xiao He directly. Boom! Xiao He's body flew out and smashed two ancient trees before stopping the momentum and hitting the ground. The shadow is startling. The damage of this skill is not too high for it, and it can completely withstand it. But this collision seemed to hit its heart, causing it to completely lose its fighting spirit. After the little pink horse succeeded, he did not pursue it, but returned to continue guarding the six-winged snake ancestor. Xiao He waited for a moment before slowly getting up. This battle seemed to have ended just like this due to its frustration. Chu Han looked on, funny and angry. He walked over and looked at Xiao He sideways. You're a worthless thing. Normally, Xiao He would definitely rush up to argue with Chu Han after being scolded. But at this moment, he was downcast and as languid as a bereaved dog. Chu Han reached out and patted the horse's head. Okay, leave it to me. Then, he looked at the little pink horse and the snake ancestor behind it. I discovered this boss first. Are you sure you want to snatch it? Chu Han knew that although the possessed beast could not speak, it could understand human speech, so he tried to communicate. No matter which of your pet animals it is, you can leave now. I won't embarrass you. Who makes my little He hate to let you get hurt? But if you persist in your persistence. As he spoke, Chu Han's expression changed slightly. He opened his right hand, and the element of thunder was ready to move, raging over the mountain forest. Seeing that the little pink horse still didn't move, Chu Han smiled solemnly. Then there's nothing we can do. Xiao He, let your love stop here. You are still young and cannot grasp this thing. Nirvana thunder. The violent thunder dragon fell from the sky, raising the brightness in the forest several times. The little pink horse had used the defensive skills just now, and Chu Han didn't want to alert the Sakura spies hiding in Guling Mountain, so he only controlled the power of the skills to about 20%. The thunder dragon entered the forest and directly fed the heavenly spirit. The six-winged snake ancestor was so shocked that his liver and gallbladder burst. He looked at the little pink horse in haste and helplessness. The latter spread its wings, but before it could make any move, a transparent crystal suddenly appeared above its head, emitting a strange divine light. The thunder dragon, which originally attacked the little pink horse and snake ancestor, quickly shrank after approaching the crystal, and was then absorbed by it. Almost instantly, all the elements of thunder were poured into the crystal. And the crystal seemed unable to withstand the ravages of the thunder element, and exploded into pieces with a pop sound. After the skill was cracked, Chu Han looked sternly and looked to the other side. About tens of meters away, a shadow as red as blood walked out from behind the ancient tree. She wears a complicated and gorgeous ancient long dress, which is outlined with gold threads, resembling a dragon or a snake. The bright red skirt hung down to her knees, revealing a section of her snow-gray calves. She wore no shoes and only had a gold ribbon wrapped around her ankles. Her attire was very weird. Charming and weird yet dignified and noble, this was Chu Han's first impression. The crystal that absorbed skills just now should be the prop she threw out. She must have been secretly observing it for a long time. Could it be the owner of that little pink horse? Chu Han looked attentively. Open black lens bracket Levi close black lens bracket, occupation, Chaoyang Snake Girl, level 8. Level. LV.441. Open black lens bracket physique. 431,143 close black lens bracket open black lens bracket power. 418,797 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket wisdom. 441,121 close black lens bracket, agility. 391,003. Open black lens bracket spirit. 357,891 close black lens bracket. Combat power value. 1,824,187. It is another hidden profession, and judging from the name and appearance of the profession, it seems to come from a hidden ethnic group. After asking, Chu Han immediately prepared himself. As long as the other party admitted it, he would kill him without hesitation. HMPH, you look so righteous when you steal my boss. It's really annoying. Li Wei looked angrily, with anger in his eyes. Chu Han observed carefully that the expression of disgust and hatred was probably not fake. Seeing that the other party made no next move, Chu Han was not in a hurry to take action and it was not too late to make his words clear first. Axon, come out and beat this little brat to death. Who are you scolding? You are a soccer dog, and your whole family is a soccer dog. When Chu Han asked, Levi suddenly became furious, and the bells hanging on the hem of his clothes jingled, expressing his dissatisfaction. Well, that's still damnable. Not from soccer country, nor the owner of the little pink pony. Levi. It doesn't seem to be that bad. A piece of magic crystal will scare you out of your wits. Li Wei walked to the little pink horse and said to Chu Han with a smile. Who are you, sent from soccer country? What is going on in Guling Mountain? Why is it so lively? It seems that she just wants to grab the boss. Stop talking nonsense and do it, Chu Han said coldly, and the thunder element rioted again. Chu Han couldn't help but feel dizzy, but then again, is it really just a coincidence that I went deep into Guling Mountain to search for soccer's spy and met this person? Frightened. Haha. When the fight breaks out later and I cast out the forbidden curses endlessly, some people will be scared to death. Traitors deserve to die more than invaders. Chapter 135 One Sword, Earth Shakes. Chu Han's facial muscles twitched unnaturally, and he glanced at the other party again. Well, the body is wrapped in Chinese clothes, and the skirt is pleated, full of exotic styles. It has to be said that the attire of this hidden professional from a mysterious group is indeed eye-catching. But, why is it that when you speak, your mouth is full of scumbags? Before he had time to think about it, Chu Han almost instinctively noticed a dangerous aura coming from behind him. Feng Ling's wings fluttered fiercely, and his body moved tens of meters forward. Turning around to look, he saw a long snake shining with brown luster appearing at the position he was standing just now. The long snake missed a single blow and was unwilling to fight, so it rushed to the owner's side. Its body with thick thighs was half wrapped around Li Wei's body, and the snake's head gently rubbed the owner's cheek. Chu Han stopped in midair and looked down coldly. Damn it, I stabbed a snake's nest today. Is this snake a summoned beast? Could it be that this woman is a summoner? No, not quite. Chu Han quickly denied this guess. Ordinary summoners, when summoning, will first arrange a magic circle as a transmission hub, otherwise the summoned beast will not be able to appear from the different space. Ordinary pets can be released directly from the pet grid just like taking materials and props from a backpack. This is the difference between summoned beasts and pet beasts. In addition, it is the growth path of the two. The summoned beast becomes stronger following the master's growth, while the pet beast has its own independent path. Moreover, pet beasts can only have a maximum of 3, and the summoner's summoned beasts do not have this restriction. Chu Han is now unable to determine whether the other party is a summoner or not. This is the case with hidden professions, which is unpredictable. But that's not important, it's all about fighting, just beware of other summoned beasts hiding in the dark and preparing to attack. On the other side, Li Wei was still interacting with his snake pet. Behind them, the six-winged snake ancestor was completely stunned. The 2 horses and 2 people present, plus the snake pet Xuan who appeared later, no matter which one, it can be crushed with a move of a finger. And the 2 of them are now at war. It seems that they are fighting for themselves. While wanting to kill himself, he seemed to be protecting himself at the same time. The seraphim ancestor was not stupid, he knew which side to stand on. It really wanted to raise its head and give a long roar to intimidate the enemy, so as to regain the face of its own snake ancestor. But when gods fight, there is no chance for them to show off. The self-knowledgeable seraphim patriarch quietly hid behind Li Wei and Xiao Fanma, lying down obediently. Taking advantage of the pause, Chu Han returned to Xiao Hei's side. He suddenly felt that it was absurd. He had a mission to search for the whereabouts of soccer spies. Although searching for mountains is a very stupid plan, since it is here, it should be carried out to the end. But what's the situation now? Why did I get entangled with people here because of a boss and forgot the business? To be honest, even Chu Han didn't like a mere supreme boss. In normal times, arguing with others would be enough, but the search for the spies of the cherry blossoms is related to Chu Shi, and if you delay for a minute, you may miss a glimmer of hope. What the hell are you doing? Chu Han couldn't help feeling annoyed that he shouldn't become a reckless man who would ignore everything when encountering conflicts. He turned to look. I have to admit that the reason for my anger this time is because of Xiao He. This kid spit on his face when he was just born, and then he was convinced by himself, and then he went through a transformation, and became like this. The images in his memory flashed quickly, and Chu Han couldn't help but feel the relief of an old father in his eyes. Perhaps it was the two feedings that changed Xiao He's appearance, and Chu Han always felt guilty towards Xiao He. So, seeing Xiao He being wrong today, he lost his mind a little bit. But now that I think about it carefully, even if I stand up for Xiao He, what else can I do? It's not possible to capture that little pink horse and make it Mrs. Yaze for Xiao He. Such love is impure. Xiao He, who is still in the pure love warrior stage, probably can't accept it either. Let's go, Blackie. After thinking about this, Chu Han lost his will to fight and decided to leave. He wasn't very interested in the 250-level Supreme Boss at first, so he didn't even bother to take a look at it at this time. Feeling the master's heart, Xiao He groaned leisurely, then cast a reluctant glance at the little pink horse, and then returned to the pet beast space. Taking Xiao He back, Chu Han glanced at Li Wei lightly. This boss is given to you. After speaking, he prepared to continue the search according to the original route. He glanced at the time. It was already 10 o'clock in the morning, and he was delayed for half an hour in this place. According to the schedule of the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony, the Lingshou Church will play at 11 o'clock, and the battle between Juniper and Ni Li is estimated to take half an hour, so I just need to go back before 11:30. While thinking about how to arrange the time in his heart, a black shadow flashed past. A giant California king snake named Kaoru appeared and stood in front of him. The boss has been given to you. What else do you want to do? Chu Lang said coldly behind him. A figure as bright as blood came slowly, and Li Wei's skirt would occasionally touch the fallen leaves on the ground, making a rustling sound. What are you talking about? A badass smell came from behind. Why did you give up the boss to me? Why are you so pissed? I've been tossing around in Guling Mountain for more than 10 days, just to find this Seraphim ancestor, and finally locked the location and woke it up. It's good for you, just grab it when you come up, and if you can't grab it, just give it to me. What the hell, do you still think you are showing off your style? Girl, move yourself and cry. Do I shed tears? Chu Han only felt his head buzzing, but listening to the other party's words, it seemed that what he said was true. Chaoyang Snake Girl should be a snake-related profession, so it is reasonable to travel thousands of miles to Guling Mountain to find the ancestor of the six-winged snake. Could it be that the six-winged snake ancestor woke up not because he killed its snake son and grandson? If so, then it is really unreasonable. You mean, you woke up the Seraph ancestor? Why don't you believe it? Do you want me to stuff it back and wake it up again? Not far away, the Seraphim ancestor who was lying on the ground raised his head in a jerk, and the originally ferocious vertical pupils blinked, but instead looked a little cute. Sorry, I don't know. Chu Han said frankly. Li Wei was slightly taken aback, and immediately said, the attitude is not bad, so I won't embarrass you, but you can't leave yet. I have to check whether you have damaged my prey. After finishing speaking, she returned to the Seraph Patriarch, spread out her right hand, as if groping for something in the air. After touching it for a while, Li Wei closed his eyes and muttered something. The next moment, evil spirits poured out from under the red robe, filling the forest-like substance. The Seraphim ancestor was forced by the momentum. How could he dare to move a little bit? Chu Han was shocked, and looked carefully with great curiosity, only to see that Li Wei's whole body was emitting yin energy, and soon retracted like a long whale sucking water. When the evil spirit enveloped her body, Li Wei's red dress exploded suddenly, and there seemed to be a steady stream of powerful breath in her body, blowing the clothes to rattle. The hem of the skirt flutters, revealing the beautiful spring scenery inside. Chu Han looked intently, but was soon disappointed. Even wearing safety pants, the most basic trust between people. A dull roar sounded, and Chu Han suddenly felt that his surroundings seemed to be dark. Looking up, the sun was still fierce and not blocked by clouds. While he was wondering, a strong light suddenly burst out from Li Wei's body, as if there were two suns in the sky and on the ground. It was only then that Chu Han realized that the darkness around him was due to the sunlight gathering on Li Wei. Chaoyang Snake Girl, is that what you mean? Soon, the light on her body dissipated, and the combination of yin energy and sunlight left a huge snake head on its body surface. The snake's head is bright and shadowy, seemingly virtual and real. Although it is a snake, the sense of oppression it brings is no less than that of a dragon. Chu Han's breathing was heavy, and he couldn't help but think of the folk legend, Lu Xian. If the ancestor of the serpent is the ancestor of the little flying snakes, then the snake head summoned by Li Wei can be called the ancestor of all snakes. In an instant, Li Wei opened his eyes, and his pupils had turned into green-brown vertical pupils. Come. She stretched out her right hand, and the position of the light white arm just protruded from the mouth of the illusory snakehead like a snake letter. The seraphim ancestor seemed to be summoned by the gods, raised his head devoutly, and touched the palm of his hand lightly. The next moment, the snake head on Li Wei's body began to move forward slowly, trying to devour the six-winged snake ancestor. Li Wei smiled lightly. As long as the snakehead swallows the seraphim ancestor, the Ling Ling ceremony will be completed, and the seraphim ancestor will become his pet beast. Over time, the snakehead continues to move. Just when it was about to devour the seraphim ancestor, a vision suddenly appeared. A huge black sword appeared out of thin air in the field of vision, spinning and floating above the mountain forest. Then, not far from the forest, there was a clear whistle. One sword, the world moves. Accompanied by Zhang Yi's angry roar, the tens of meters long black giant sword crashed down. With just one strike, the seraphim ancestor was cut into two pieces. Chapter 136. Once my sword is drawn, it will end in blood. The ancestor of the six-winged snake was beheaded, and his life died instantly. The black giant sword was inserted into the ground, and the two snake bodies twisted symbolically a few times before dying, and then exploded into materials and gold coins all over the ground. Chu Han was taken aback, and suddenly looked back, only to see Li Wei still standing where he was, sweating profusely. He didn't know if it was because the spirit arresting ceremony was interrupted, or because he was wearing too thick and hot clothes. That bright red skirt was suffocating to look at in this hot weather. Then he looked around. The shout just now was obviously made by Zhang Yi, but there was no sign of him here. One sword moves the world? It's really a middle school, in line with his character. It's just that before the person arrives, the sword arrives first, which is too perverted. Thinking of that childish face, Chu Han always had a hard time associating him with the word, strong man. Well, on the other side, Li Wei seemed to be in a bit of pain. The huge snakehead that had been placed outside her body was nowhere to be seen. It seemed that the interruption of that weird ritual would also cause harm to her. The little pink horse and the snake pet Xuan went on alert, leaving Chu Han behind and returning to her side to guard them, as if they were facing a big enemy, as if something extremely dangerous was about to appear. Are you okay? Chu Han knew that it was Zhang Yi who was coming, so he ignored it. Instead, he was even more worried about Li Wei's state. Regarding the matter of the seraph ancestor, Chu Han misunderstood her for grabbing his boss, but he didn't expect the fact to be the opposite, which made Chu Han feel a little guilty towards her. And now that he was injured by Zhang Yi again, he felt even more sorry. It seems to be a bit of a bully. Dog, sneak attack on me. Li Wei said out of breath that her eyes had returned to their original state, and the vertical pupils of the snake clan were gone. When she looked at Chu Han, she was full of resentment and hatred, which was far scarier than the vertical pupils. Chu Han twitched the corner of his mouth, speechless. Elder sister, take care, I am a mage, what does that sword have to do with me? Oh yes, with Paraz's necklace on, you can't see my message. Then I can't take the blame for this. Zhang Yi, Chu Han shouted. The echo echoed in the mountains and forests, and before it fell, a silver wolf galloped towards it, appearing in front of everyone. The black giant sword sensed its master, buzzed everywhere, the blade trembled, and then flew towards Zhang Yi on the silver wolf's back. In the process of spinning, its size rapidly decreased, and when Zhang Yi held the hilt of the sword, it was already the right size. Chu Han's eyes lit up, and he couldn't help exclaiming, F*K, Ruyi Golden Hoop Sword. The name of the sword is Crow 9. I don't know much about it. Zhang Yi corrected, and then glanced around. How about it, can I solve the trouble for you? Forehead. Chu Han didn't know how to answer, so he looked at Li Wei, who was bursting with anger. Judging from the current situation, it seems that there is no. Zhang Yi was planning to accept Chu Han's thanks, but he couldn't help being startled when he heard this. Sister Qin told me that you are entangled with a basilisk. Holding his chin, Zhang Yi looked around, and quickly set his sights on Xuan. It turned out that the killing was wrong, it was this one. The young and impulsive Yishan, holding the Crow 9, flashed out from the back of the silver wolf, pointing the tip of the sword at Xuan. The sword energy was like a wave, condensing into a vortex in the air, with a magnificent momentum. No skills, just an ordinary sword. The 8th rank knight, the judge of Twilight, shot a Taiace, and he had the aura to destroy the world. Damn it, don't. Chu Han was numb all over. Brother, I know you are strong, but can you listen to someone explain it to me? He suddenly remembered that Zhang Yi once worried that Tu Feng in the guild would retaliate against him, so he deliberately provoked Tu Feng to provoke him, and then took the opportunity to kill him. That time, Yishan, who was righteous, probably didn't hear the other party's explanation. Maybe Tu Feng didn't have the heart to look for him at all, even though he wiped out his entire family. As soon as Chu Han opened his mouth, Zhang Yi's sword had come out. He was startled in an instant, and Chu Han had no time to stop him. However, judging by the speed, even if he prepared himself in advance, he probably couldn't keep up. Chu Han suddenly felt a little lost. Back in Zhongling City, when he killed the dark heavenly dragon in the trial square and was known to the whole city, he was also a young hero who attracted worldwide attention. At that time, there were many moments when Chu Han believed that he was the chosen one and could be invincible in the world with the help of a forbidden spell. But after coming out of Zhongling, everything was different. If I were to face Wing God, I don't know if I could beat him. While Chu Han was thinking wildly, Zhang Yi had already approached Chu Han. The Crow 9 sword glowed with a deep dark light and was extremely sharp, stabbing directly at Axon's 7 inches. This sword is a killing move. Call out, the red phantom suddenly appeared, dragging Chu Han to the side, barely able to avoid the attack. Judging from the weirdness of his movements, he seems to be a professional who is known for his speed. Zhang Yi stabbed the air with his sword, immediately pulled it back, then turned around and lifted up. With one sword, ghosts and gods will be shocked. In an instant, sword shadows were flying and circling all over the sky, and the sword blades were like violent winds and rain, sweeping through the mountains and forests, trapping Li Wei and Axon in the middle. How cool this skill is! If someone from the swordsman class sees it, they will probably burst into tears. What a stupid skill name, it's too good. Chu Han was unable to complain and hurriedly shouted to Zhang Yi to stop. However, Yishan, who was filled with righteous indignation, refused to listen to anything in order to vent his anger on the future new captain. Depend on. Chu Han was helpless and prepared to resolve the dispute personally. At this moment, 2 more people arrived. It was Su Ying and Wu Qinxin. Chu Han was overjoyed and walked over quickly. You guys came just in time. Stop Zhang Yi quickly and tell him not to embarrass that woman. It's all a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Su Ying jumped off the bird's back, looked at Chu Han, and then at the 2 people fighting on the field, with a confused look on her face. What's going on? Isn't the wing god here to save you? Chu Han felt dizzy for a while and had no choice but to state the matter briefly. So that snake has been killed and has nothing to do with the current one. Go and stop him quickly. He won't listen to what I say. Su Ying glanced at Wu Qinxin and shook her head helplessly. If we go, it won't have any effect. What? Chu Han almost stopped. You can't stop a kid from fighting, right? I'm really not lying to you. Su Ying explained weakly. It's the principle of Wing God. Once I draw my sword, it will end in blood. If he starts a fight, I really can't stop him. Once my sword is drawn, it will end in blood. Can you hit 2 more F*** points? Chu Han was really annoyed. Just because of this so-called broken principle, he didn't even care whether the other party was an innocent person, really in need of discipline. At the same time, in the battlefield where swords danced all over the sky, Li Wei, Axon and Little Pink Horse were struggling to hold on. Their bodies were covered with sword wounds, and it looked like they wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Zhang Yi slowly approached, ready to finish off the enemy. Call out. The crystal cannot dissolve the entire skill, but it is enough, giving Li Wei room to escape from the sword shadow. Both sides of the battle each used their strongest blows, with murderous intent, each wanting the other's life. The sword shadows in the sky instantly lost their rhythm, were completely scattered by the crystal, and then inhaled. One sword. Destroy the ancient times. Some sword shadows were directly sucked into the crystal, while others were chopped on the outside of the crystal, and then the sword body became shattered. At the critical moment, Levi threw another magic-absorbing crystal into the air. Thief son, you are seeking death yourself. Axon, come here. Li Wei spread his arms and his red robes flew. The sword intent reached the sky, and a bloodthirsty smile appeared on his lips. This was the move he used to leapfrog Tu Feng and kill him. Today I want you to see how terrifying the Chaoyang snake girl's power is. See ya. Levi had transformed into a human snake monster, with a scarlet tongue as long as a snake letter, and rushed forward with a roar. Stop the hell. Dictatorship. Axon was ordered, lightning arrived, and immediately lingered on Li Wei, and then penetrated into the body. A moment later, Levi and Axon actually merged into one body. Ding. Ding. Ding, hey, the props are pretty good. Soon, most of the sword shadows in the sky disappeared, and the magic-absorbing spar couldn't bear it and broke into pieces. Ha! Zhang Yi still sneered, his sword shining like a black sun. Zhang Yi stopped, clenched the sword in his hand again, and the black light flourished. However, at this moment, a voice fell from the sky. Chapter 137 I'm going to pretend to be tough, I'll be right back. The ice world is coming, in an instant, within a radius of hundreds of meters centered on Chu Han. All living and dead things were sealed within the profound ice. Li Wei, who had turned into a snake man, still maintained the posture of jumping forward, with a ferocious expression fixed on his face. Zhang Yi on the opposite side is not bad, with his legs spread apart, pointing his sword at the sky. It should be good if it can be made into a figure. Not far away, Su Ying and Wu Qinxin did not escape the fate of being frozen. Especially Su Ying, her small face was slightly dazed, her small mouth was slightly opened, as if she was asking me why I didn't fight. The control effect of the dictatorship field does not distinguish between the enemy and the enemy. The difference is that Zhang Yi and the others are teammates, and they will not be hurt during the freezing period. Chu Han felt relieved that the dispute was effectively stopped, and he fell to the ice and stepped on top of Li Wei's head. Looking at Zhang Yi, Chu Han shook his head slightly. Are you always so impulsive? My sister should hate your personality the most. How did she tolerate you staying in the team? Well, calm down in the ice. And you? Then looking at Li Wei, Chu Han suddenly remembered what happened today. After all, he didn't make sense on his side, so he swallowed his criticism. You look pretty when you're not talking. Chu Han complimented Li Wei against his will, and walked away from Li Wei's head. If it was when she first appeared, this mysterious young lady with a hidden profession was indeed outstanding in appearance and refined in temperament, but now she has become a pure monster. Except for the old man who has a special hobby, normal people probably wouldn't take a second look. It's not that I'm talking about you. You must calm down when you encounter problems in the future. Chu Han walked aside and kept educating. We are all young people. What is difficult to communicate? Don't throw your skills on others whenever you encounter a situation. It will only make you appear frivolous, irritable, and have no foundation. Swish. While Chu Han was chattering, a puff of pink smoke suddenly appeared, filling the forest and obscuring his vision. Huh? Chu Han's expression froze, and he raised his hand to cast a forbidden wind spell, Hanging Soul Dance. The moment the wind elements began to wreak havoc around, Chu Han suddenly remembered that Li Wei was still sealed in the ice world. If she is not her own teammate, she will suffer 5 times the damage at this time. Through the short battle just now, Chu Han couldn't confirm her defensive power, so he immediately cancelled the skill release. At the same time, the powder mist continued to pervade, and Chu Han's vision was obstructed, making it difficult to see clearly what was a few meters in front of him. This powder mist is so familiar. Chu Han suddenly remembered that when the little pink horse prevented Xiao He from killing the Seraph ancestor, it was the pink mist that spewed out. Did it break free from its own control? No, just now when I was educating the two of them earnestly, I seemed to have caught a glimpse of the little pink horse in the ice. It seems that someone has appeared again. Chu Han's first reaction was that the real owner of the little fan horse had come, and she should have come to rescue Li Wei. According to the information about the little pink horse, its owner is Feng Xiao. And it has been helping Li Wei capture the Seraph ancestor. Obviously, its owner and Li Wei are companions. Haunting Dance. Chu Han kept the power to a minimum, causing almost no damage, and just borrowed wind skills to blow away the powder mist. The control time of the dictatorship domain will soon pass. If the other party attacks Zhang Yi and others when they lose the protection of the ice world, it will be bad. Zhang Yi was actually fine. After all, his strength lay there, and Chu Han was mainly worried about the 2 girls behind him. A strong wind blew up, and the powder mist was quickly blown back, leaving a space. Chu Han looked intently, only to see that Li Wei and Xiaofema had disappeared, and the ice that had sealed them had also melted. What's the situation? Chu Han was shocked. The dictatorship field traps the enemy for 30 seconds, and during this period, I can't get rid of the control. Could it be that Li Wei, like the monk Sanju before, can break free from the control of the forbidden curse? Or, is there a problem with the powder mist just now? It can not only block the line of sight, but also release the control for teammates? The haunting dance continued to play its role, completely blowing away the powder mist in the distance. Chu Han looked up, and suddenly found a figure. It was the little pink horse, with 2 people on its back, galloping into the distance. One of them is Li Wei, and the other is wearing a white dress with 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside, and he is not afraid of the heat. While the other party was still within the scope of checking the information, Chu Han checked it immediately. Open black lens bracket Feng Xiao close black lens bracket, occupation, Psychic Li Wu, 9 revolutions. Open black lens bracket level. LV.543 close black lens bracket open black lens bracket physical. 1,320,014 close black lens bracket open black lens bracket power. 1,139,115 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket wisdom. 1,571,121 close black lens bracket. Agility. 1,200,873. Spirit. 1,499,987. Open black lens bracket combat value. 6,929,257 close black lens bracket 9 turns. And another hidden job. Nearly 7 million combat power points. Chu Han's expression was solemn, and he stopped in his pursuit. Apart from the 2 old men in his own family, this was the first rank 9 professional he had seen, and it was a hidden profession. What's worse is that that person is just a little girl, who looks to be about the same age as Li Wei. What the hell kind of world is this? While Chu Han was envious and jealous, he was also a little fortunate. If that rank 9 professional made a move, I'm afraid I would be completely unable to resist it. According to Yao Shengyu's words, reaching rank 9 means stepping into another world. Chu Han still can't understand the meaning of this sentence, but he can tell with his feet that her strength must be extremely terrifying. Although judging by his level, this person has just stepped into the rank 9 realm, but he is definitely not someone he can head on at rank 6. Fortunately, the opponent has no intention of fighting. Just thinking about it, the little pink horse suddenly stopped, then turned the horse's head, and walked back slowly. Chu Han tensed up. The other party went and returned, not knowing why. Zhang Yi and the others should be able to release the control immediately. If the opponent launches an attack, they can only go up and resist for a while, buying time for the other 3. Ordinarily, with a forbidden spell on my body, it shouldn't be a problem to block it for more than 10 seconds. Forget it, it's a big deal to die once. Anyway, the CD of the Dragon Soul Saint Cloth has been converted, and it can be resurrected. Just thinking about it, the little pink horse stopped and turned sideways. Li Wei's eyes were full of resentment, and he pointed at Chu Han. Hey, boy, you owe me a snake, remember it for me. Chu Han. I didn't F***king kill the Seraphim ancestor, so why'd I owe you? Even if Zhang Yi did it to save me, it can't be blamed on me, since I don't need him to save me. Just when she was about to argue, the little pink horse neighed, turned and left, and disappeared into the forest in an instant. Chu Han rolled his eyes, and at this moment, the ice around Zhang Yi's body shattered, and the control time was up. Grass, don't run. During the freezing period, he could also see what was happening outside, and the moment he came out of the ice, he raised his sword and wanted to chase after him. Brother, you should rest. This time Chu Han was on guard, and grabbed Zhang Yi. The opponent has a rank 9 master, isn't it free for you to go? No, Zhang Yi's pupils were filled with blood. His awe-inspiring manner said, since we have already fought, there is no reason to leave after half of the fight. Once my sword is drawn, it will end in blood. This is the oath I made in the Hall of Valor, and it must never be broken. Yajujian and I will never back down. Chu Han's brain was about to crack when he looked like he was either dead or dead. Everything, it must end in blood, right? Looking left and right, Chu Han soon found a new batch of little flying snakes crawling all over the old trees. So he walked over, grabbed one, and slashed at Zhang Yi's sword. Chua. The blade was so sharp that the little flying snake broke in two immediately. Chu Han patted Zhang Yi's shoulder. Okay, this will end in blood, don't worry about chasing after him. Zhang Yi blinked his eyes, looking at the green blood dripping from the lines on the blade. He was speechless for a moment. Is there a bug in the oath I made back then? The gods in the Hall of Valor didn't remind me. Chu Han smiled and said nothing. It's absurd to think about it today. A group of people went into the mountains to search for spies from Sakura, but they didn't expect to encounter such messy things. Team leader, are you still going to search the mountains? Chu Han turned his head and asked, reminding Zhang Yi that he had a heavy responsibility and not to delay his work because of the fight. Okay, Chu Han said. Suddenly the communicator rang. Okay, I'll be there right away. Time was running out, and Chu Han had to be there right away, otherwise he would be regarded as a waiver, so he didn't ask any more questions. Zhang Yi put away his weapon as a compromise. Of course, continue. Aware of Chu Han's doubts, Ni Li explained. Actually, we were also lucky. Neither the opponent's number 3 seed nor number 2 seed was present, so it will be regarded as a waiver. Jun Song and I will directly judge the victory. You too won't lose if you don't hold on for 5 minutes, Chu Han smiled. 2 of the 3 didn't come. This is a bit strange. Based on his understanding of the 2 teammates, even if he could win, it shouldn't be so fast. Subconsciously look at the time, it's 11 past 5. Although the Shashintong is relatively weak and has little chance of winning, it is not so cowardly, right? After hanging up, Chu Han looked at Zhang Yi, the temporary leader of the Sushan team. Leader, I'll take half an hour off. He remembered today's race schedule. The spiritual practice church was scheduled at 11 o'clock. Time could pass so fast. Did you cross? What? Chu Han was startled. It has indeed started, but logically speaking, shouldn't the 3rd seed be played first, then the 2nd seed, and finally the heroic and great 1st seed? Oh, Chu Han was quite surprised. What? Juniper and I both won. Now it's your turn. After connecting, Ni Li's voice came. Chu Han, where are you? The competition is about to start. Come to the ring. Could it be that the other party is such a rubbish? Wait for a while, I'll pretend to be tough, and I'll be right back. Chapter 138. How much money do you make in a month, working so hard? Guling Mountain Top. The Tian, Di, Zan, and Huang arenas exclusive to the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony are competing at the same time. The auditorium, which can accommodate more than 50,000 people, is almost full and the crowd is full of voices. Just the 2nd day of the group match, the heat of this grand event was already full. The scene is covered with innumerable video recording equipment, which is being broadcast live to all parts of the country through the network platform. However, there seems to be something wrong with today's game. What's the situation? Why are so many players absent? Yeah, this morning is almost over, and I haven't seen a few complete matches. Could it be that the group stage is not taken seriously, and the players are hurrying to level up and improve their strength, so as to cope with the knockout stage later? What kind of stupid logic do you have? If you don't play well in the group stage, how can you make it to the knockout stage? Then something must have happened. I always feel that there is a big news behind this. Could it be that the players are threatened by something, so they dare not play? It's unlikely. Look at the Xuanzi group. Even Sanju from yesterday's Battle of Tianwang Mountain didn't play just now, and he was directly sentenced to lose. There is also Chu Han, who has not seen anyone at the moment. The number 1 seed of the Spirit Church, who in Dragon Kingdom dares to threaten him. It's true. It's hard to imagine who can scare the people of the Spiritual Cultivation Church, but the competition has become like this, and there is no official explanation. Today's votes are a big loss. On the judging table of the Xuanzi group, Jiyu Changshan was delighted, like a spring breeze. In yesterday's match, San Zhu fought against Chu Han, and the ring of the Xuanzi group was completely dismantled, and there was not a single intact brick. At that time, Ji Changshan lamented endlessly. When meeting with the logistics department in the evening, the other party refused in every possible way, saying that the repair cost has greatly exceeded the budget, and he needs to pay it for the time being. After the negotiation is finalized in the future, the cost will be returned to him in the form of subsidies. Ji Changshan's heart sank after hearing this. Still discussing in the future. Whose future is it? With whom? Purely fooling a fool's rhetoric. But he has nothing to do. This is not the first time this kind of thing has happened, and as this bad referee, he has to bear this risk after all. If he entangles too much and delays the next match schedule, he probably won't be able to keep his job. No move, he gritted his teeth and spent 3 million to repair the ring. So early this morning, Ji Changshan relied on his own channels to find out the outside handicap, and bought Chu Han's loss in the second day's game. The odds are exaggerated, 3,200 to 1, which almost broke the odds record of previous Zhenwu Grand ceremonies. As for Sanju's match today, Sanju's odds of losing are 480 to 1. If you don't make a comparison, it is already quite high. After all, yesterday's battle with Sanju was immediately full of excitement, and today's game can be so popular, it can be said that it has nothing to do with it. Now the match video of Sanju vs Chu Han has gone viral on the internet, and there are even many excellent secondary creations, and the number of hits is very good. What's even more outrageous is that a batch of CP fans have already been born. After buying the Chu Han bag, Ji Changshan bought the Sanju bag again, and he felt a little better. With such high odds, he didn't expect to win, he just wanted to add some bad luck to Chu Han and Sanzu, so as to relieve his hatred. But no one could have imagined that a surprise just appeared. In the first match of the Xuanzi group, the number 1 seed Sanju was inexplicably absent, and was immediately judged as a loser, and the rice was collected 480 times. Ji Changshan's old mouth almost died of laughter. However, the surprise has not receded, and the battle between the Sholing Church and the Killing God Church also went wrong. The number 3 and number 2 seeds of Killing God Hall were absent, and the Spiritual Practice Church won. When it came to the battle of the number 1 seed, the players from Killing God Hall were there, but Chu Han was gone. What is the chosen king of gambling? What is no Ji Tai Lai? 480 times the rice has not been warmed up, and 3,200 times the rice will be available immediately. Compared to this, the money to repair the arena is nothing. You know, he bought 30,000 gold coins for Chu Han, and now there are 10 seconds left in the countdown for the players to enter the arena, and the number 1 seed of the Killing God Hall is already waiting on the ring. As long as Chu Han does not show up within 10 seconds, 96 million gold coins will be credited to the account immediately. Ji Changshan felt himself trembling, the pores all over his body expanded, and the blood flow accelerated. This was the first time he had sex with a girl when he was young. He didn't expect that he could experience it again when he was old. 96 million, nearly a small goal, is indeed much more attractive than girls, unless you are a fairy sister. Ji Changshan's lips moved slightly, and his gray beard trembled. Chu Han, the number 1 seed of the Sholing Church, was absent for no reason, and it was considered a waiver. Zhao Dehai, the Shashintong, won this game. After rehearsing it in his mind, Ji Changshan glanced at the time. 5, 4, 3, 2, snapped, Ji Changshan patted the table. I am coming. A shout came from the sky above the arena, and Xiao He turned into a faint blue streamer, and smashed into the barrier of the Xuanzi group's arena like a meteorite falling. As a contestant, Chu Han will not be blocked by the barrier. Boom. Landing on the ground with 4 hooves, the impact generated by the high-speed flight made Xiao He unable to stop the car at all, and rolled a few times in an extremely embarrassing situation, stirring up waves of dust. Wow, come quickly, the referee vomited blood and passed out. When the dust dissipated, a long gully appeared, and the newly repaired ring was devastated. Fortunately, Chu Han was quite reliable, he rushed back within a minute, and entered the barrier of the ring before the countdown was finished. Hey, why bother to work while sick? How much money do you earn a month, working so hard? It's just that they didn't expect that the game would be so weird, and the opponent's first 2 players were absent, so they didn't have time to notify Chu Han, which made it so urgent. When leaving, Chu Han vaguely heard Ji Changshan murmuring. On the ring, Chu Han looked around, and soon saw the enemy player who was on the opposite side with a confused face. After hearing Chu Han's shout, they came back to their senses, ran to the referee's seat, and carried Ji Changshan down, who was vomiting blood and unconscious. Under the arena, the tense Elder Ni and the others sat back in their seats and let out a long breath. Referee, I'm not late, let's announce the start of the game. 9,000, 600, 10,000, poof. Today Chu Han had a personal matter to deal with, and Ni Chen also expressed his understanding without asking further questions. Chu Han scratched his head and couldn't understand what he heard, but seeing Ji Changshan's old and dilapidated appearance, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. At this time, almost everyone on the scene was attracted by Chu Han, who fell from the sky, including the staff behind Ji Changshan. Chu Han was startled. Seeing Ji Changshan falling from the high stool, he quickly shouted to the staff below. Another mouthful of blood was vomited out, completely dyeing the gray goatee red. Huh? Referee? Chu Han was already prepared, spread out the wings of the wind spirit, jumped off the horse, and then took Xiao He back to the beast space, so as not to be too embarrassing. Chapter 139 Chu Han's doubts, the contestant disappeared for no reason? Church of Soul Cultivation versus Killing God Hall, the third game begins. The substitute referee jogged up to the high stool and announced loudly. The atmosphere at the scene was directly ignited. To be honest, after yesterday's battle, more than half of the audience who came to watch today's game came for Sanju and Chu Han. Sanju was not seen at first, and everyone was quite disappointed. If it weren't for Chu Han behind him, many of them would have left the table. Unexpectedly, when Chu Han's game started, others were not there either. Fortunately, it was the last second of the countdown to the entrance, and Chu Han entered the room boldly, like a god descending from heaven. It's a pity that his mount seems a bit stupid and not worthy of the majestic appearance of the god. At this time, the substitute referee announced the start of the game, and the cheers rose like waves. The fair is worth it again, brother Chu Han, kill him. Quickly use that ice coffin move to build a coffin for that kid. Brother Chu Han, feel free to fly, the Ihan family will always be with you, woo woo woo. In the ring, Zhao Dehai, the #1 seed of Shashan Hall, had a trembling face and his muscles couldn't help but twitch. Damn it, Zhenwu Dadian also plays in the fan circle, right? He had just experienced a big ups and downs, and his mentality was also greatly affected. From the bottom of his heart, Zhao Dehai didn't think he would be Chu Han's opponent at all. After all, his fight with Sanju was like a fight between gods and gods. Want to win against gods? I can't do it. But the problem is that just now, Chu Han was almost late and was awarded a defeat, allowing Zhao Dehai to taste the feeling of being close to victory. It was so wonderful that it was impossible to stop. 1 second short. The drop in that second was no less than falling from the clouds into the mud. Zhao Dehai hated that the victory that was so close to him was so easy, and he even had the idea of fighting Chu Han to the death. There are 2 shoulders supporting 1 head, why can't I defeat you? No such reason, Chu Han, don't think that just because you gained some limelight yesterday. Okay, stop saying harsh words. I'm tired of hearing it. Chu Han interrupted him, you only have 20 seconds, so you should cherish your time on stage. Zhao Dehai's face froze, and his anger rose. I'm going to say, don't think that I'm really invincible. Zhao Dehai, I'm not a vegetarian until today. I'm F***king fighting with you. Blinded by anger, Zhao Dehai didn't even notice the wisp of black mist emerging from Chu Han's hand, which was slowly approaching him. Reincarnation whispers. It is indeed a good skill. Chu Han chuckled. With this thing, he almost ignored other skills when playing solo. Chasing Wind Sword Chi. Zhao Dehai really tried his best. He used the 6th level skill of the swordsman profession directly, and rolled up several sword energy and swept towards him. Chu Han shook his head invisibly. I had just seen Zhang Yi's sword moves, and looking at Zhao Dehai's skills, it was just like a child playing house. I don't know how Zhao Dehai, who is a swordsman, would feel if he saw Zhang Yi, a knight, perform the sky sword dance. The sour smell should come out a few miles away, right? Chu Han secretly smiled. Chasing Wind Sword Energy? The name is a little more normal, not as good as Zhang Yi, but the power is equally different. Looking at the few rays of sword energy drifting over slowly, Chu Han rolled his eyes. You are still chasing the wind. What kind of wind can make you catch up? -3584 -3584 -3584 Not even bothering to hide, Chu Han spread his wind spirit wings and directly resisted this move. More than 10,000 blood, even as a crispy mage, Chu Han didn't even lose a layer of blood. It's good at scratching, Master Zhao. With a joke, Chu Han controlled the black mist and continued to move forward. Zhao Dehai blushed. The swordsman beat the mage, but he only got more than 10,000 HP, this is a joke everywhere. Just when he was about to continue attacking from embarrassment, the black mist arrived. -9,999,999,999,999,999 The blood bar disappeared, and Zhao Dehai was sent off the ring. Chu Han stretched out of boredom, then turned to look at the substitute referee. Can you announce it? Can. The Church of Spiritual Practice versus Killing God Church. In the third match, Church of Spiritual Practice Chu Han won. After the announcement, the substitute referee gave Chu Han a gouged look. He also contributed part of the money for repairing the arena yesterday. Chu Han didn't pay attention to this, and asked him, a lot of contestants didn't come to compete today, what's the situation? Chu Han, who knew that there were spies of cherry blossoms hidden in the mountains, seemed to smell something. But whether the two are connected, he is not sure. I don't know, you can ask them yourself, the substitute referee said angrily, turned and left. Chu Han was full of question marks and scratched his head aggrievedly. Chu Han, it's a good thing you're here. Ni Li and Juniper ran up to the ring. I was scared to death, I thought you couldn't make it through. Where did you go? It's nothing, I'm going to meet some friends. Chu Han prevaricated and went off the ring with the two of them. Ni Chen came over with the other two elders. Chu Han, you can't do this next time. I can understand that you have to deal with private affairs, but you have also seen that anything can happen on the field. Missing any game will have an impact on our results. Alright. Chu Han nodded helplessly. In this case, I won't be able to search the mountains with Zhang Yi and the others in the future, but it doesn't matter, searching the mountains is a stupid plan in the first place. Suddenly, Chu Han felt a strange gaze. He turned his head and found that it was the elder Lu Hongwei who was looking at him. His eyes were strange and seemed to contain many things. Unable to ask any more questions, Chu Han got up and was about to go back to the house. He couldn't tell Zhang Yi and the others about the soccer spies in front of Elder Ni. Chu Han suddenly remembered that this morning he caught him walking into the wrong room of Ni Li naked, and his heart skipped a beat. Ni Chen took a sip of his tea. I'm not sure, but I've also inquired about it. Today's not only the Xuanzi group, but also the other 3 groups' matches. It seems that everyone has discussed it. It is estimated that before winning the championship, he couldn't hold other thoughts in his mind, and if he didn't make it, he would have to stop himself and not allocate his energy to places other than the competition. He doesn't really think I'm the one, does he? The contestant is missing. Chu Han frowned, trying to connect this matter with the soccer spies hiding in Guling Mountain, but found no clue. I have no choice but to discuss with Zhang Yi and the others to see if this matter can be used as a clue. Just took 2 steps, before Chu Han left the living room, Ni Chen suddenly called to stop him. Chu Han thought of Zhang Yi's side, hesitated and didn't go there. After Ni Chen finished speaking, he led everyone back to the hotel. I was almost late today, and Ni Chen was obviously dissatisfied, so Chu Han didn't bother to tell him these things. Elder Ni, what is going on today? Why are so many contestants not participating? Just as he was about to explain something, Lu Hongwei had already looked away, as if he wanted to avoid embarrassment, but Chu Han didn't know how to speak, so he didn't mention it. Back in the suite, Chu Han sat on the sofa opposite Ni Chen and raised his doubts. I asked a few guild elders who have a good relationship. 2 of them had players absent. I heard from them that the players disappeared. I don't know the details. Although there is no need to deliberately hide it from them, but based on Chu Han's understanding of Elder Ni, he is now full of things about the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony. Chu Han, should you have something else to tell me? Today's game is relatively easy. I won 2 games in a row. I will arrange a celebration banquet with you tonight. Chapter 140. Come on, come into the house with me. What? Chu Han stopped and turned around, only to see Elder Ni Chen looking at him with burning eyes. Ni Chen smiled, and said, yesterday, you made a bet with Qi Tianyang, didn't you forget? Oh, that. Chu Han suddenly realized, to be exact, it's a bet between you and Elder Qi, and I'm just a witness. Ni Chen ignored Chu Han's giggling. He thought about it for a day. No matter how he thought about it, it didn't look like Chu Han was joking. No matter how much I didn't like him at the beginning, he was also a young man whom both Shen Xingchen and the President Yao Shengyu were optimistic about. It couldn't be possible that these 2 immortals couldn't compare to me, right? Although Ni Chen was always arrogant, he always remained humble in front of these 2. What's more, Chu Han didn't like it before. After all, it was because he got the #1 seed and stepped on his grandson. After all, I still have a small belly. After getting along these days, Ni Chen was completely impressed by Chu Han's performance. Even Sanzu, a top genius who was famous in the Dragon Kingdom, was defeated by him. It is impossible to say that he has no means. Therefore, whether it is Chu Han's own means or relying on the resources provided by the 2 big bosses, Shen Yao, Ni Chen believes that Chu Han has a way to make his grandson Ni Li improve his strength in a short period of time. Just like what he said that day, when Ni Li meets Hong Lin in the 2nd round, he will definitely torture him to death. It's about his grandson. Ni Chen is willing to show his old face. Logically speaking, with his own strength and combat experience, he can completely train Ni Li to make him reborn, but it will take a lot of time to train and absorb. If he wants to increase his strength in a short period of time, he can only rely on props or equipment. In this regard, Ni Chen is really short of money, and he didn't find any suitable ones in the guild warehouse. He could only pin his hopes on Chu Han. Chu Han, you don't need to be sloppy with me. From the day you scolded Qi Tianyang, I knew you must have a way. It's true that I have selfish intentions in this matter. I want my grandson to win the next battle against the Phoenix Pavilion. But then again, this is also related to the guild's honor and disgrace. You shouldn't hide it. To Ni Chen, these words are already very soft, so it's not like the dignified elder kneeling down to beg the juniors in the guild, right? Hearing this, Chu Han also stopped laughing. There was nothing to say about this matter. He planned to give it to Ni Li the next time he played against the Phoenix Pavilion. Now that Ni Chen mentioned it, it doesn't matter if it was earlier or later. The magic feather gloves in the backpack is still lying there. It was dropped by the boss who played the 6th rank mission before. This piece of equipment perfectly suited Ni Li. As for whether to lend it to him, give it to him or sell it to him, it didn't matter, and Chu Han didn't think about it. Just as Chu Han made some moves, the elder Lu Yuncheng beside him spoke. Hey, Elder Ni. Why do you need to beg him? He is Elder Shen's beloved disciple, and he is also deeply loved by the president. What he gets must be rare treasures in the world. How can he give it to others so easily? As for the honor and disgrace of the guild, hey, Even if we lose to the Phoenix Pavilion this time, people will only say, Elder Ni is foolish, Elder Lu and Lu are less wise, or Neely Juniper is weak. Who would blame him? What about Chu Han, who was dragged down by his incompetent teammates? Chu Han. Lu Yuncheng was so angry that Chu Han couldn't fix it anymore, and I didn't say anything after thinking about it. The corners of Ni Chen's mouth turned up slightly, and he took over the words. Elder Lu's words are unreasonable, really unreasonable. Chu Han's young hero, he solved a crisis for his hometown city just after he changed his job. You and I both know this. He relied on his own strength to win the appreciation of Elder Shen and the president, and received some special care. This is not true. His fault. What's more, according to my observation and judgment, Chu Han is upright, broad-minded, and not as selfish as you think. I can guarantee this with my personality. Hearing this, Chu Han pulled his face. If you step on it and hold it, two old things will play red and white with me. Use such a low-level method to provoke me. Do you really treat my buddies as mentally retarded? If it weren't for the important things in front of him now, Chu Han really wanted to fight against them, but it's a pity that he doesn't have that leisurely mind now. Two elders, don't tell me. Master and Master have given me a lot of good things. One piece of equipment can increase Neely's strength by 10 times. Neely's eyes lit up immediately. Lu Yuncheng pretended to cough, covered his mouth and laughed. Ni Chen suppressed his smile. He knew that his judgment must be right. What kind of equipment is it? Can you open everyone's eyes? Do you want to see it? Chu Han said with a smile. Then his attitude changed and his face became cold. I won't show it to you yet. After finishing speaking, he grabbed Neely's shoulder. Come on, follow me into the house. Neely looked bewildered, and was grabbed by Chu Han into the bedroom. Ni Chen and Lu Yuncheng had nothing to do with it. They knew it was just the young man who had lost his temper, but as long as he lent that so-called piece of equipment to Neely, it didn't matter whether he let him see it or not. Anyway, he could grab Neely and ask him afterwards. But Lu Hongwei at the side was a little restless. He watched Neely and Chu Han enter the bedroom together, and closed the door tightly. Some unharmonious images could not help appearing in his mind. Lu Hongwei opened his mouth, wanting to say something to Ni Chen, but finally held back. His face was haggard, his eyes were full of exhaustion. He seemed to be exhausted recently, too lazy to meddle in others' business. In the bedroom, Chu Han grabbed Neely's arm and threw him onto the bed. When he looked up, his little face was flushed. It's caused by excitement. According to what Chu Han just said, his equipment can improve himself 10 times. Who wouldn't be excited about it? Chu Han closed the door tightly and curled his lips. He knew in his heart that doing so was just unnecessary. After giving the equipment to Neely later, could he still hide it from his grandfather? But Chu Han still did it. Who told him to play tricks and provoke the generals just now? Just think of it as a small resistance, even if it's useless. Turning around and seeing Neely's expectant look, Chu Han thought about what happened this morning when he walked into the wrong house naked and was caught by Lu Hongwei. It's so embarrassing. Why'd I suddenly regret coming in? In order to avoid further embarrassment, Chu Han simply took out the magic feather gloves and traded them to Neely. This is the equipment I'm talking about. Neely collected the equipment and hurriedly clicked to view it. Magic feather gloves, artifact, occupation type, fighter. Level, 240, durability, 49,000, physique plus 3,400. Open black lens bracket strength plus 5,000 close black lens bracket, physical damage plus 25%, equipment effect. The release speed of all physical skills is increased by 100%. Equipment effect. The attack range of all physical skills is increased by 100%. Introduction. Speed is justice, and the range covers the truth. Close black lens bracket. F*K. After reading it, Neely couldn't help but exclaimed. He also had a battle with Hong Lin before, and his grandfather had already reviewed it for him. Hong Lin, as the shadow of the 6th level assassin's hell, fought by relying on his clones to confuse his opponents, while his real body was in a stealth state, and he took action secretly. Neely deeply agreed with this. During the battle that day, he could clearly feel that there was a third person in the ring, but he couldn't see or catch him, which led him to think that he had an illusion. So in summary, he lost because of his combat experience and his own speed. Now with this glove, not only the speed of skill release is doubled, but also the range of skills is doubled. As long as you maintain your 6th sense, you can definitely make Hong Lin's true body invisible. Although the magic feather glove's level of 240 is a bit low for me, its attributes and additional entries are definitely worthy of the word artifact. Okay, put it away, go back and practice more, familiarize yourself with the characteristics of the equipment. Chu Han said lightly. His eyes had already turned to his team panel. At this time, Zhang Yi and the others were already slowly going deep into the ancient Spirit Mountain range, so they had to hurry over. One is to continue to search for Sakura spies, and the other is to tell Zhang Yi about the disappearance of the contestant, which may be a clue. Chu Han, I love you so much. Ni Li put away his equipment, and rushed over excitedly, looking like he wanted to give Chu Han a bear hug. Chu Han felt a chill, and many unsightly images flashed through his mind, and goosebumps suddenly spread all over his body. Take a break, you. Ni Li kicked him back on the bed, and Chu Han hid in the distance. Ni Li didn't mind either, lying on the bed and giggling. Stop making trouble, let me ask you something. Chu Han suddenly became serious. Based on your understanding of Guling Mountain, except for the developed areas on the top of the mountain, will there be people living in the mountain forest? Chu Han thought for a long time. Those Sakura spies were hiding in the mountains. They couldn't sleep in the wilderness all the time. There might be thatched huts left by their predecessors for them to live temporarily. That way, it might be quicker to find it. I don't know. Ni Li sat up again and shook his head. But in my opinion, no one should live in the mountains. Monsters are rampant here and it is very dangerous. There are guards stationed on the top of the mountain, and there are many big bosses sitting in the town, so monsters will not easily attack, but the situation in the mountain is different. Hearing this, Chu Han nodded, which made sense. Why are you asking this? Ni Li asked curiously. Chu Han shook his head. Don't ask about this, I have some personal matters to deal with. As for Ni Li, Chu Han didn't need to make too many detours, he just gagged him. Oh, by the way. Sure enough, Ni Li didn't ask any more questions. Elder Lu Hongwei used to be from Dongzhou City and is very familiar with Guling Mountain, so my grandfather always brings him with him every time he comes to participate in the Zhenwu ceremony. If you want to know about Guling Mountain, you can ask him. Chapter 141 Encounter in the Ancient Forest, Sanju fights the female goblin? Elder Lu. Forget it, Chu Han always felt that there was something wrong with the way he looked at him. If you start chatting with him, talk about topics you shouldn't talk about, and let Elder Ni Chen know about the special hobby between yourself and his grandson, then it's over. Pooh. Wrong. There are no special hobbies at all. Chu Han grinned, completely dismissing the idea of asking Lu Hongwei. Mainly, he also felt that his idea was not very reliable. Even if someone left a house in the mountains before, where should he find it? Don't you still have to search the mountains? What's more, Sakura spies don't necessarily live in it. Even if they live in it, it is impossible to live in the same place all the time. In the final analysis, or the same sentence, Suyama is a stupid plan. After pushing the door open, the first thing Chu Han saw was Ni Chen sitting on the sofa. The old guy looked like he had succeeded in his tricks, and looked at Chu Han with a smile. How about it, is that equipment suitable for Ni Li? You can really pretend. Chu Han couldn't help but roll his eyes violently, seeing your old wrinkled face. The smile on your face can hardly be held back, and you even put a hammer on it. Ni Li's exclamation just now can be heard even in the living room. Why are you pretending to be stupid? It's not suitable, it's hopeless, wait for death. Chu Han waved his hand and walked out of the apartment. Before closing the door, he glanced vaguely at Lu Hongwei, only to see that he was slumped on the sofa to recuperate, with dark circles under his eyes and an appearance on the verge of collapse. Strange. Muttered, the door closed, and Chu Han went straight to Zhang Yi's coordinates. Anyway, find them, tell them about the strange disappearance of the player, maybe there will be some usable information from it. It's better to talk about these things face to face than to chat on the newsletter. After all, they are already teammates on the same front, and information sharing is the only way to maximize efficiency. I don't know if Zhang Yi understands this truth, so I have to educate him later. Summoning Xiao He, Chu Han got on his horse. Although the speed of Feng Ling's wings is slightly faster, but with a mount, who will fly by himself. After a short delay, Zhang Yi and the others had already gone a long way deep. Before Chu Han rushed back to the arena, it was Xiao He who fought so hard that his wings almost smoked, and Chu Han used the wind spirit wings to push. Under the double power, he rushed back within a minute. This time, the return flight was not so urgent. After flying for about 10 minutes, the map showed that they had only traveled half of the distance, and the blue dots representing Zhang Yi and the others were still moving forward. Hurry up, Xiao He. He patted the horse's head lightly, wondering if this kid has come out of the shadow of broken love. Gee, with a long whistle, Xiao He suddenly vibrated his wings and flew towards the low sky. What's wrong? Chu Han's first reaction was, did Xiao He find that little pink horse again? But when he looked down, he saw that in the ancient forest on the ground, there was a strange phenomenon somewhere, and the mysterious golden light was in full bloom, like a holy lotus born out of the world. However, in that golden light, there seemed to be a hint of evil spirit mixed with it, and the momentum was violent, tending to faintly suppress the golden light. This golden light. Why is it familiar? Chu Han pondered for a moment, then told Xiao He, go down and have a look. One person and one horse sank from midair and soon fell back to the ground, sinking into the jungle. When Chu Han looked around, the golden light had dissipated, and the golden light was dotted in the air, disappearing in an instant. And what appeared in front of Chu Han was a young bald man wearing a gray layman's uniform, obviously a young monk. 3 bamboos. Chu Han recognized it immediately. If I remember correctly, this guy was absent from today's game. Why did he show up here? Secretly came to upgrade. Looking carefully, Monk Sanju leaned against the old tree, and his layman's clothes were in a mess, as if after a big battle. And not far around him, there were many gold coins, materials, and equipment scattered around, obviously just exploded. Really come here to kill monsters and upgrade? Chu Han frowned slightly. What kind of monster could make Sanzu so hard to kill? Seeing that he looked exhausted and bloodstained on his face, he was very embarrassed. Chu Han is also very aware of Sanju's strength, He can completely kill indiscriminately in the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony, but it's a pity that he met himself in the first battle. There is no way, the strength of the buddies is also here. After saying a few bad words in his heart, Chu Han walked over slowly. I don't know what happened to this little monk. He is both a genius boy and an urban hero in his hometown. Chu Han feels a sense of sympathy for him. If he was seriously injured, Chu Han didn't mind helping him. After all, he had to meet him, so he wouldn't stand by and watch. However, when he got closer, Chu Han was stunned. It was just a long distance away, and Chu Han thought his face was covered with blood, but when he got closer, he could see clearly that his face and his bald head were all covered with red lip prints. This F***king was kissed by a woman. What's the situation? Chu Han inexplicably remembered the movie he had seen in his previous life, the scene where the green snake seduces Fa Hai. Could it be that Sanju also encountered a similar thing? Was he seduced by a female goblin? Unable to get away to participate in the competition, after struggling here, he finally resisted the temptation and desire, showed his Buddha nature, slayed demons, and then exploded the spoils of this place? It should be like this. Chu Han made up a good show of coexistence of beauty and violence. Quite enviable, Chu Han clicked his tongue, and took 2 steps forward. Sanzu was paralyzed there, not knowing whether to live or die, and Chu Han couldn't let him go. Just as he was about to get closer, a sweet female voice suddenly came from behind. Are you Sanzong's friend? Chapter 142 Xiao He. Vomit? The voice behind him was soft and charming, and before Chu Han turned around, he had already imagined a peerless beauty with all kinds of charms. After all, I have been single for more than 10 years, and I have memorized many classic works of teachers, so I still have some imagination. The hormones in his body began to erupt, his blood became hot, and Chu Han slowly turned around. Surprisingly, there is no scene of the peerless beauty wearing a tulle and half revealing her body. Standing in front of Chu Han was a woman in a well-dressed dress. Although she was not as glamorous as imagined, the wonderful figure outlined under the black tights was still rousing people's imagination. When Chu Han met her eyes, he felt that the other's eyes were like the deep sea, and when he relaxed a little, they fell down. As a result, his expression gradually became obsessed, and his eyes were firmly attached to the woman like a magnet, unable to extricate himself. The vigilance and caution that had been maintained all along had disappeared without a trace. It was as if in the whole world, only the beauty in front of me was left. She looked at Chu Han, walking slowly. The exquisite carcass under the tight skin constantly stimulated Chu Han, making his blood active, and then gathered together. The woman's eyes are full of waves, and her smile and frown are full of tenderness and charm. She approached Chu Han, opened her red lips slightly, and asked again, "Tell my sister, who are you?" Following her words, a fragrance sprayed faintly on Chu Han's face, making him throb. The sound of swallowing saliva came. Chu Han's nose expanded, and his breathing accelerated. I am. Boom. As soon as the words came out, Xiao He next to him suddenly jumped up, screaming and dancing with all 4 hooves, then turned around, raised his hind hooves, and kicked Chu Han's ass with a kick. Chu Han was in pain and couldn't help taking a breath, and his mind seemed to be clearer. Looking up at the woman again, there was only one thought in my mind. Grass is under control, and when he saw that charming face again, his thoughts instantly changed to, "Female goblin, you came here by yourself, and you must help me practice today." The blue sea is rising. The water-type forbidden spell was fully released, and Chu Han didn't care whether Sanju behind him would be affected. Anyway, the main function of this skill is to control the enemy and release control for himself. The damage is really average, and Sanju should be able to withstand it. Swish. -254,731 -254,731 -254,731 Sanju, who was already in a coma, suffered a series of injuries. The woman's expression moved slightly. Originally, this young man from the Dragon Kingdom was already a meal on the plate, but a horse spoiled his good deeds. She stared at Xiao He with anger in her eyes, and then retreated quickly, dodging the water system like a ghost. A wave of forbidden spells. On the other side, after Chu Han released the control, the Lingtai became clear in an instant, and his clever IQ once again occupied the high ground. He first spread the wings of Fengling, and then directly checked the other party's information. Open black lens bracket My Akeda close black lens bracket open black lens bracket occupation. Fallen Heart Fairy, 7th rank Charm Fairy, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket level. LV.430 close black lens bracket open black lens bracket physique. 297,384 close black lens bracket open black lens bracket power. 277,762 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket wisdom. 396,591 close black lens bracket. Agility. 463,057. Spirit. 401,198. Combat power value. 1,378,863. This name, this profession, and that crappy dragon language can basically be hammered. This person is from the country of cherry blossoms. Chu Han couldn't help but raise his vigilance. This woman's level is not low, and she can already accept the mission of the 8th rank. Her strength should not be underestimated. What's even more frightening is her control, which is simply breathtaking and impossible to guard against. Rank 7 Charm Fairy. Should have a charm or something. Could it be that she really guessed it right? Did Sanju behind him really meet a female goblin, and then put on a good show of fighting the Buddha and the demon? As for fighting in the ancient forest or on the bed, it's hard to say. After all, not everyone has the kind of concentration that transcends ordinary people. Thinking of the embarrassment in which his soul was almost snatched away just now, Chu Han couldn't help but blush. If it weren't for Xiao Hei's hoof, he would have fallen into the pink trap of the demon girl, and would have become fellows with Sanzu. Well, this credit should go to Xiao Hai too. This kid has grown up and can help him. Looking sideways, Chu Han was slightly taken aback. Xiao Hai, what's wrong with you? I saw Xiao Hei's 4 hooves stomping crazily on the ground, and the horse's head, which was only skeletal, neighed continuously, with a kind of eagerness that could not wait. Following Xiao Hei's gaze, Chu Han saw the female fairy opposite. At this time, the female goblin's expression changed dramatically, and she backed away uncontrollably. Damn it, I forgot that my charm is a passive skill. Just now I gave the beast a look because of anger, but I didn't expect to meet the eyes, triggering the charm passive skill. This damn skill doesn't only work on men. Any male creature that makes eye contact with him will be charmed, and then lust for him. Even the prison nightmare horse made up of skeletons and will-o'-the-wisps is no exception. Although the female fairy Mayakeda has experienced many battles, she has never let a beast fall in love with her. A man can't, at least he shouldn't, do that with a skull horse. It doesn't even have tools for committing crimes. Chu Han looked back and forth between the female goblin and Xiao Hai, but before he could figure out what was going on, Xiao Hai couldn't hold back, turned into a stream of light and rushed over. As a 7th rank mage, her speed is second only to the ninja class, but Mayakeda's mind is blank at this moment. Chu Han's jaw dropped in shock. Is this guy crazy because he was abandoned by the little fan, or is he crazy because he wants to find a wife? It doesn't even matter whether the other party is a human or a horse, and you are not picky. After a while, Akeda Wu seemed to come back to her senses, and squeezed out a few words from her trembling red lips: save. Help. Chu Han looked at Xiao Hei's crazy operation with a dazed expression. This guy really worked extra hard. When he heard the cry for help from Akeda Wu, who was temporarily acting as a filly, Chu Han also regained his senses. Thinking of what happened to me just now, it is obvious that Xiao Hai was also controlled by the female fairy, but this result. I am afraid that the female fairy can't think of it, right? Bihai Chaosheng, Chu Han, who had seen enough of the horse piece, quickly threw out the forbidden spell to remove the control effect on Xiao Hai. Swish! The wave swept across, and Sanju behind him was heard again, making an inaudible moan. And Xiao Hai was removed from the control effect and stopped immediately. After regaining consciousness, it looked down, and saw that it was putting its hooves on the shoulders of an unfamiliar female elf, in an unsightly posture. Shocked in his heart, Xiao Hai quickly jumped down and ran back to Chu Han's side, with aggrieved eyes. It's finally over. The female fairy Mayakeda gasped heavily. Bastard. Bastard, how dare you do that kind of thing to me? It is unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable. Akeda Wu's eyes were extremely resentful. If the eyes had any substance, Xiao Hai might have already shot through his heart with 1,000 arrows. Chu Han scratched his head, not knowing what to do. Apologize to the other party? That's impossible, not to mention that the other party is an enemy. Even Xiao Hai made such a move because he was controlled by her. After all, Xiao Hai is the victim. Chu Han firmly believed in this point, as could be seen from Xiao Hei's aggrieved appearance. Wu! Wu! At this moment, Xiao Hai cried out in grief. His blue eyes were about to cry, and he was in a miserable state just after being ruined by someone. And after being pointed and cursed by Akeda Mai, it seemed to recall the absurd scene between itself and the female fairy just now. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. The more I think about it, the more I feel wronged, and the more I think about it, the more disgusting I get. Finally, Xiao Hai couldn't hold on any longer, sobbed and lowered his head, his mouth opened wide. Vomit. Chapter 143 Mysterious Pills, Sanju's strength soars. There is no esophagus, let alone Xiao Hei's internal organs, so naturally nothing can be vomited out. However, when Mayakeda saw its disgusting look, she felt an unprecedented insult. She, Mayakeda, the top beauties of the Holy Sakura Club. Even Kobayashi Jiro, the top young genius in the guild, has secretly expressed his affection for me. Now, it was actually a horse, dislike, abandoned, up. This is even more infuriating than when I was F***ked just now. I originally wanted to tangle with this young man from the Dragon Kingdom for a while to see if I could get out any useful information. No matter what happens, he can still be caught. Judging from his young age, he should be qualified to make food for Yamada no Orochi. However, now that this situation has arisen, Akeda Mai doesn't care so much anymore. She just wants the life of the bone horse at this moment. And his master must die together. Feeling the murderous intention of the other party, Chu Han hurriedly released Bihai Chaosheng to prevent himself and Xiao Hai from being controlled by any strange skills again. We can't let that female enchantress taste the sweetness anymore. However, monk Sanju behind him, Chu Han, was a little worried. He can resist 1 or 2 skills, but as long as he fights my Ikeda, I have to keep using Bai High Tide. Will he die in my hands? Turning around to look, Chu Han unexpectedly found that there was another person besides Sanju. It was also a woman in a well-dressed outfit. Her appearance and attire were similar to my Ikeda's, except that her tights were replaced by fiery red. She didn't seem to care about the fight here at all. She lay half lying on the ground, her slender and plump body pressed tightly against Sanju, and her flaming red lips came close to him. The corners of Chu Han's mouth twitched. Could it be another succubus? Before he could check this person's information, my Ikeda on the opposite side had already started taking action. She had been trained hard since childhood and was trained to be cold-blooded and ruthless. After the shame and anger passed, she now showed the temperament that a killer should have. I don't know when a purple orb appeared in my Ikeda's hand, floating in the palm of my hand, exuding mysterious energy. Facing a 7th level professional, Chu Han felt no pressure. But now that he was sure that the other party was the Sakura spy he was looking for, Chu Han didn't intend to fight alone. After a quick operation, Chu Han opened the team chat channel. Chu Han. Found the Sakura spy, come quickly. Close black lens bracket. Then, the current coordinates were sent. Zhang Yi immediately replied, be there soon to catch them alive. After seeing it, Chu Han closed the interface, and my Ikeda also made a move. The deception orb in his hand suddenly threw out, and instantly transformed into 3, all of them attacked Xiao He. Chu Han smiled, raised his right arm, and a pillar of fire shot out, directly scattering the 3 orbs. The 3 orbs merged into 1, restored to their original shape, and returned to my Ikeda's hand. Chu Han looked at his palm and was lost in thought for a moment. That feeling just now was so weird. When the 3 orbs attacked Xiao He, Chu Han subconsciously wanted to block them, but he was worried about accidentally injuring Sanzu, so he did not dare to use the full power of his skills. With a hasty move and a lot on his mind, Chu Han almost subconsciously threw out a natural disaster of hell. However, this fire-type forbidden spell is obviously centered on itself, and the flames sweep in all directions. No matter how much power is controlled, what changes is only the range and damage, and the skill form will not change. So that pillar of fire just now was not a natural disaster from Purgatory at all. Could it be that he has awakened a new skill? It's impossible, there's no hint at all. With an enemy in front of him, Chu Han didn't have time to think too much. It wasn't too late to finish the fight first and then study. So, he spread his wings and greeted him. Xiao He did not move. It had now accumulated a lot of combat experience. It knew that the new woman behind it was also an enemy, so it stayed where it was and was on guard. But the woman in red didn't care about the fighting situation around her. A pair of catkins wandered over Sanju's body, completely tearing off the already messy layman's uniform. Most of her own red leather coat had also faded away, revealing the infinite scenery. Sanju had already woken up under her provocation. When he saw the female queen in red, his dusty eyes shone with light and he said weakly, F female benefactor. That medicine is so powerful, haha look. Ahem, look, all the monsters were killed by the monk, all killed. 13 level 800 supreme level BOSSs, all killed by me, ha ha ha. Sanju, who fell into madness, was very excited, but at the same time he was very weak. After just saying a few words, he started coughing violently. The woman in red held Sanju's face in distress and said in a charming voice, stop talking, save your energy, while the medicine is still in your body, give it to me, quickly. Bang bang. Bang bang. Sanju's heart was beating rapidly. He ignored his extremely weak body and struggled to sit up. He hugged the woman in red into his arms and raised and lowered his hands. Okay, let's continue. After saying that, the two hugged each other and started eating. Xiao He stretched his neck and walked closer and closer unconsciously, almost stretching the horse's face over, watching the two men's live performance mesmerized. As I watched, I suddenly remembered my affair with the female demon Mai Ikeda. Ouch, he couldn't help but started to retching again. Next to them, a man and a woman were using the ground as their bed, and their sex was reaching a fever pitch. The woman in red, oh no, she has completely taken off her red clothing and thrown it aside. The woman in no clothes and Sanju moved around, galloping their horses, their loud voices resounding through the mountains and forests. Xiao He couldn't stand it any longer, so he hid aside. Instead of being jealous here, he might as well follow his unreliable master into a fight. Although Sanju fell into lust and was about to go to heaven, but from his point of view, Ikeda Mai was being forced back by Chu Han, and the deception orb had been broken into pieces. It seemed that he could not hold on for long. Doesn't her charm work on Chu Han? Sanju was a little puzzled. Even regardless of professional characteristics, Mai Ikeda's appearance alone can capture the hearts of most men. Isn't Chu Han a man? Sanju-san, it's so wonderful, I feel your power coming in, it's so hot. Then, with the two people working together, the battle ended perfectly. The battle on the other side ended almost at the same time. Ikeda Wu was controlled by Chu Han and sealed in an ice coffin, unable to break free. Under the ancient tree, Sanju's face turned pale, his lips were blue, and his mouth was full of breath. Quickly, give me the medicine quickly. The young monk will take this opportunity to express his regret. The scene in the ring yesterday emerged, and a fierce look flashed in Sanju's eyes. If it weren't for being too weak, it would be a bit scary. Hong, immersed in the afterglow. Ah, no, the undressed woman gasped lightly with satisfaction. The medicinal power extracted from Sanju's body was nourishing her body, converting it into experience attribute values, and continuously improving her strength. Here. She opened her hand lazily, with a blue pill in her palm. When Sanju saw the pills, he jumped up and grabbed them, then stuffed them into his mouth. A breathtaking smile appeared on the lips of the undressed woman. Remember, come to me after the fight. I still want. After swallowing the pill, Sanju's eyes were shining brightly and his posture was proud. He didn't look weak just now. He looked like the reincarnation of King Kong. This medicine is indeed a divine product. My strength has increased more than 10 times. He smiled sternly, cold-blooded and cruel. Chu Han, pay the price for your previous blasphemy against the true Buddha. Chapter 144 Ashamed of the Buddha? I will kill you now, little monk. The difficulty of Ikeda Mai is nothing more than the charm that exudes at any time. When Chu Han fights with it, he must continuously release the Behind tidal wave to prevent himself from being controlled. Fortunately, Xiao He was by his side, so he could help him keep an eye on the pair of lingering, ignorant men and women, and prevent them from attacking from behind. Always beware of controls, which will slow down the progress of the battle. The proud charm technique was cracked, and Ikeda Wu could only struggle to support herself under Chu Han. Chu Han felt quite bored until the end of the fight. 1 million combat power points, that's it. It seems that combat power value cannot be used as the final reference for personal combat power. For example, Mai Ikeda's more than 1 million combat power points, a large part of which are due to her charm skills. As long as it is cracked, her remaining combat power will probably not even be a fraction. Boom. The last infernal disaster left Mai Ikeda no longer able to resist. Chu Han controlled the power of his skills and left a layer of bloody skin on the opponent without killing her. After all, there were still many things to ask from her mouth. Kobayashi-kun will not let you go, he will kill all of you, Mai Ikeda said viciously. Looking at the female demon lying on the ground with a face filled with resentment, Chu Han began to think about how to torture her. In an instant, the golden light flourished. Chu Han was shocked, as if something cold and sharp was pierced into his back. It was the sixth sense derived from biological instinct. Cold sweat broke out instantly. Chu Han almost didn't think, and his body suddenly moved to the side. After missing a hit, Sanju was not in a hurry to pursue him. With the blessing of the magic potion, he was extremely confident. Chu Han's fate was decided today. First, he came to avenge yesterday's fight in the ring, but more importantly, Chu Han discovered that 2 Sakura girls were here, and he could not be allowed to leave here alive. The purpose of Sakura girl coming to Guling Mountain was to rob young Dragon Kingdom professionals. Sanju knew these things, but had no intention of trying to stop her. The Buddha said that all living beings suffer. So, why aren't these Dragon Kingdom professionals suffering? It is the way of heaven to feed the weak to the strong, and it is what a monk should do to obey the law of heaven. There is no reason to interfere in this matter. Besides, the 2 Sakura sisters are beauties in the world, and their skills in bed are top-notch. If you, Chu Han, go back and talk nonsense and drive away Sakura sisters, who will compensate me? Therefore, Chu Han must die. Sanju, who was full of murderous intent, looked ferocious and looked like an evil ghost, but the golden Buddha light on his body was even more intense. Chu Han dodged the blow just now, turned around quickly, and saw Sanju at the first sight, and couldn't help being stunned. What the hell is going on? He was half dead just now, so how could he be full of energy in a blink of an eye? Could it be that? Chu Han moved his eyes back and looked at the ancient tree in the distance. Sure enough, the later cherry blossom girl in red was lying naked under the tree at this time, as if she was still reminiscing about the hand-to-hand combat just now, her expression blurred. Isn't it the legendary art of dual cultivation? Chu Han looked at the white carcass and suddenly felt a little greedy. Arrogant, seeking death. The surface of Sanju's body swelled with golden light, mixed with wisps of black air at the same time. His face was ferocious, and the blue veins on the top of his bare head protruded. The power of the potion surged wildly in the blood, and Sanju jumped up, turning into a golden and black afterimage, and directly hit Chu Han. This product is much stronger than before. As urban heroes in their respective hometowns, and also the focus of the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony, Chu Han paid a lot of attention to Sanju, no matter whether it was intentional or not. At this moment, he could clearly feel that Sanju's strength had improved to a higher level. Although the opponent's level and attributes haven't changed much, the oppressive force brought by his symbolic golden light is no longer the same. It's just that Chu Han couldn't figure out how Sanju, who was on the verge of death just now, would suddenly become like this. The words of double cultivation, Chu Han knew that it was just his own wild imagination. He had watched too many novels and movies, and his imagination was always too rich and uncontrollable. But why exactly? No time to think about it, Sanju's attack was already approaching. As a crispy mage, Chu Han would avoid close combat even though he was protected by Feng Ling's wings. When Sanju attacked with golden light, Chu Han subconsciously retreated a certain distance. Suddenly, a pair of hands reached out from the ground and firmly grasped Chu Han's leg. Akeda Wu hugged Chu Han and shouted loudly, "Sanzusong, kill him quickly." Chu Han was speechless for a while. Jia Niang is really not a cheap lamp. If it wasn't for the subsequent torture to obtain information, Chu Han really wanted to kill her directly. Boom. Chu Han didn't panic in the face of danger. First he raised his hand to send out the natural disaster of Purgatory, forcing Sanzu back, and then looked down. In an instant, he suddenly remembered that he couldn't look at Akeda Mai, and hurriedly stopped looking down, and at the same time, just to be on the safe side, he sent Bai Hai Chao Sheng. Immediately afterwards, Chu Han pulled out a leg, stepped on Akeda Wu's charming face, and crushed it hard. Let you see, let you charm me." Akeda Mai was in so much pain that she covered her eyes with her hands and screamed. Taking advantage of this moment, Chu Han picked him up and threw him aside, so as to save her from making trouble again, and at the same time told Xiao He to take good care of her. Xiao He was full of disgust, but the master's order could not be disobeyed, so he reluctantly walked over, bent his legs, and pressed on Akeda Mai. Mai Akeda felt desperate when she recalled the scene of being attacked by Xiao He just now. She didn't dare to resist anymore, for fear that Xiao He could not bear it again and would ride herself as a filly. Moreover, I only have a layer of blood left now, and if I offend the other party, I can empty my blood tank at any time. Although its owner didn't kill him just now, Mai Akeda couldn't control the temper of this little color horse. Anyway, I was often under the pressure of others, since I can't resist, then enjoy it. Mai Akeda accepted her fate. On the other side, Chu Han stood opposite Sanju, not in a hurry to make another move. The monk of the dignified Kusho temple, who was once hailed as a hero, has fallen to this point and colluded with the cherry blossom witch. Sanju, don't you feel ashamed of the Buddha? Before starting the fight, Chu Han decided to launch a wave of mental attacks first, at least to overwhelm the opponent morally, and to fight more aggressively. Amitabha. This trick really worked. After hearing this, Sanzu clasped his hands together and said the Buddha's name in a proper manner. It was obvious that the other party was about to start flirting, and he didn't know what kind of fallacy he could say. Chu Han rubbed his hands, his thoughts changed, and he was ready to have a good debate with the other party. Unexpectedly, after Sanju said the Buddha's name, he suddenly raised his head, his eyes widened with anger. Stop King nonsense, little monk will kill you right now. Chapter 145 Primary Potion, the sucked Sanju. The mouth cannon attack failed, and the opponent's anger value was increased. Chu Han curled his lips. How can a monk be so irritable? But without thinking about it, Sanju attacked again. Chu Han knew that Sanju was different from the past, so naturally he would not underestimate the enemy. Even if he spread the Fengling wings with all his strength, he always kept a safe distance from Sanju, and at the same time kept throwing skills at him. Sanju dodged around, although he didn't dodge most of the skills, but he didn't seem to know the pain, and he didn't care how much blood was lost. In short, relying on the strength of his physical body, he controlled the golden light hard resistance skills, and kept trying to get close to Chu Han. Soon, Chu Han also discovered the clue. In the battle with Sanju yesterday, Chu Han had seen the opponent's methods, and various skills emerged one after another. Why don't they use it now? Could it be that they are reserved for later? Chu Han was extremely cautious, and the move of Golden Ball Collision was vivid in his memory. To be honest, he was quite afraid. Let's not talk about how terrifying the aura of destroying the world is. The key is that move can break through his dictatorship and make the ice coffin explode in advance, which has to be guarded against. The dictatorship domain plus reincarnation whispers, this trick Chu Han used in solo was handy and confident. But if the opponent can break open the ice coffin, the nature will be different, and he doesn't dare to make casual moves now. At that time, Sanju in the ring reduced his freezing time from 30 seconds to 17 seconds, but now that his strength has greatly increased, he may be able to break through the ice faster. Since there is a risk, Chu Han is not in a hurry. He will adopt guerrilla tactics first, wait and see what happens, and find out the opponent's weakness. Unexpectedly, Sanju seems to no longer use skills. The two fought for a long time, and he was kept unable to get close by Chu Han's kite, and Chu Han had no good way to deal with him. Already throwing out almost 100 forbidden spells, this guy hid symbolically at first, but then he simply stopped pretending and charged at himself with the forbidden spell on his head, like a savage bull who knows no pain or fears death. Chu Han had some headaches. Sanju's situation didn't seem to be purely anti-high blood thick, but more like he had become an immortal body. If things go on like this, you can only find an opportunity to try using reincarnation whispers. This is not an arena. The whisper of reincarnation will really kill the opponent, which is why Chu Han has been hesitant to use it. Sanju was different from Cherry Blossom Girl. Those spies, if necessary, Chu Han would kill them without hesitation. But Sanju, he used to be the same as himself. When monsters invaded the city, he stood up regardless of the crisis and saved thousands of citizens from the fire and water. He was regarded as a hero. Thinking of this, Chu Han couldn't bear to kill him. As for why he colluded with the foreign demon girl, Chu Han didn't know. These could be handed over to the official trial. It was not a last resort. He really didn't want to kill Sanju now. Just as the two were fighting, the cherry blossom girl who had escaped from the aftertaste of love had already stood up, and put on the red tights again, wrapping her graceful figure in it. It's amazing. The woman in red looked at Sanju in battle, her eyes fluttered. Mr. Zhaolin's potion has such a magical effect. Ishikawa Xing, the 8th rank charm girl, the Soul Destroyer, a key member of the Holy Cherry Club. Of course, she knew the situation of monk Sanju the best. After sneaking into Guling Mountain and killing the reckless rank 8 knight, Ishikawa Xing and Ikeda Wu were bumped into by monk Sanju, who rushed over after hearing the sound. The two sisters teamed up, but in the end they were still suppressed by Sanju with a crushing force. I thought the mission would fail, but unexpectedly, Sanju not only didn't kill them, but also proposed to do that mediocre thing with them. Ikeda Wuxin resisted, but Ishikawa Xing readily accepted. That night, the three of them were buried together and went to Yenyu together. Shi Chuangxing, as a soul-absorbing woman, can absorb the attributes of a man into herself in a way similar to collecting yang and nourishing yin. Sanju, who only thinks with his lower body, didn't notice it at all. Before the start of the Zhenwu Grand Ceremony, he had been with the second daughter to relieve the loneliness in his heart. It wasn't until the night when he lost to Chu Han that he realized that something was wrong, and his attributes had dropped a lot. Thinking about it, he realized that it was the two witches who did the trick, and Sanju went to find them again. He was originally full of anger, but when he saw the second girl's obsequiousness, he immediately became awe-inspiring. Next, it was another fierce battle. For a whole night, Sanju worked hard until his body was hollowed out, and then he stopped. At this time, his attributes, experience points and even skills had been wiped out by Ishikawa Xing and transformed into his own body. Attributes. As for the drained Sanju, although he is still a professional, he is still a Garen Arhat, but his attributes are cleared, his level is 0, and his skill bar is also empty. What is the difference between him and ordinary people? Afterwards, Ishikawa Xing's kindness showed great enthusiasm and gave Sanju a potion. Kobayashi Jiro of the Holy Cherry Club, his main occupation is rank 9 swordsman, Shinkong Ronin, and his second occupation is alchemist. This primary potion was given by Mr. Zhaolin. It can explosively increase the attributes of professionals, and increase their fighting spirit so that they are not afraid of death. Of course, there are also side effects, that is, after the effect of the medicine, people will become weaker, because it is an attribute improvement that burns the lifespan of the user. After swallowing the potion, Sanju immediately felt the return of strength, and it was more abundant than before. Facing more than a dozen 800-level supreme bosses that Shi Chuangxing had found, he killed them all in a bloody battle. After the effect of the medicine wore off, he became weak again, which was also the collapsed appearance that Chu Han saw at the beginning. Ishikawa Xing didn't want to waste food, so he took advantage of Ikeda Wu to drag Chu Han down, communicated with Sanju again, and absorbed the residual power generated by the potion, which was the power generated by burning life, which was purer than the original attribute. At this time, watching Sanju's violent outburst after his attributes skyrocketed, fighting with Chu Han, Shi Chuangxing couldn't help licking his red lips, his desire undisguised. Sanzu was still not sucked clean enough by himself, otherwise the golden light would not have appeared. Potions will only provide people with enormous strength and a madness that is not afraid of death, and will not have any technical assistance. The golden light appeared, which meant that Sanju still had his original strength, so he had to continue to absorb him. Thinking of this, Shi Chuangxing lightly covered his red lips, and the lust in his body was almost uncontrollable. But at this time, the effect of Sanju's medicine was about to wear off. Facing the spell thrown by Chu Han, he began to be overwhelmed, and even felt pain. Chu Han also noticed the change in Sanju. He put away the idea of using the Whisper of Reincarnation, and continued to frantically throw his skills. Can this person not be killed or not for the time being? Boom! The fire-type forbidden spell broke out, and Sanju was finally completely defeated. The power in his body drained rapidly, and he gradually regained his clarity after falling into madness. The berserk fire element came raging, and Sanju couldn't resist it, and was sent flying backwards. Boom! Falling to the ground, Sanju's eyes were full of resentment. Why it still didn't work? Why did he still lose to him? The same genius and the same city hero, why is there such a big gap? The sound of footsteps came from the ear. Sanju curled up, turned his head with difficulty, and it was Shi Chuangxing who came over. Sanju resisted the terribly weak feeling, crawled over little by little, until he reached Ishikawa Xing's feet, and grabbed the opponent's tight leather pants. Basic potions are not good, too little improvement, hurry up, give me advanced potions. Give me. Shi Chuangxing's eyes were like silk, and her red lips outlined a smile. Even the basic potions make you weak like this, and the high-level potions might kill Sanju-san. It doesn't matter. Sanju gritted his teeth. As long as I can defeat him, I will die. Sanju-san is really persistent, Shi Chuangxing said, and spread out his delicate palm, with a black pill floating on it. Advanced potions, the ultimate weapon. That Kobayashi Jiro called. Even Ishikawa Xing did not dare to try it lightly. When Sanzu saw it, A greedy and crazy light flashed in his turbid pupils. Give it to me quickly. Do you want it? Ishikawa's stars were shining brightly, and as he twisted his waist, there were countless amorous feelings. She moved 2 steps, raised her right foot wearing a stiletto, and lightly stepped on Sanju's face. If you want, lick it for me. Chapter 146 Dark Mogula, a fallen Buddhist sacred object. Hoo-hoo, at the end of the battle, Xu Lang was dripping with sweat, panting heavily. To be honest, defeating Sanju in a berserk state was not easy. Within 10 minutes, he cast hundreds of forbidden spells. At this moment, his muscles ached, his heart beat faster, and he felt exhausted. Although becoming a professional with various attribute blessings and relying on forbidden spells, you can release skills without consumption. However, that is just a waste of data, and his own physical strength is still limited. After all, he is only a professional and has not yet become a god. Even if his physical body is stronger than ordinary people, he still belongs to the ranks of mortal wounds. While panting, Chu Han suddenly opened his eyes wide. Not far from him, the hot and sexy Shing Ishikawa stood pretty, with winking eyes and an expression of enjoyment. Looking down, there was Sanju lying on the ground, holding a slender leg of Ishikawa Shing, licking wildly on the instep of his instep. Give me the potion. Suck it up. Give it to me. Suck it up. Look at that hungry and thirsty appearance, as if he has grasped the delicacy of the world and refuses to let go. Everyone in Chu Han was dumbfounded. I don't know if Sanju's tongue is so good. Chu Han only felt that the sexy red high-heeled shoes were shining brightly in the sun. Looking at the protruding bald head under the beauty's leather pants, Chu Han even forgot the pain in his body and swallowed his saliva. Obviously I won the battle, why reward him? If I had known about this good thing, I could really lose once. No, how could I have such an idea? Could it be that he was hit by the charm again? The blue sea is rising. Chu Han, who woke up with a start, hastily used the forbidden spell of the water system in an attempt to release himself from the control. However, when the tide swayed, Chu Han didn't feel any change, and he was still very envious of Sanju. Think for a moment. Oh, it turns out that I am an LSP myself, so it's fine. Chu Han patted his chest, scaring me to death, thinking that the forbidden spell had failed. Shi Chuangxing bit his lower lip lightly, humming and chirping in a soft voice. Sanju heard it in his ears, and worked harder with his mouth. All of a sudden, a violent sea tide rolled in, Ishikawa Zing's winking eyes flashed a gleam, and his plain hand was raised slightly, as if there was a shadowless wall blocking the rolling tide. However, she underestimated the power of the forbidden spell. Although Chu Han did not use all his strength to release the spell, the shadowless wall only persisted for 4 or 5 seconds before it collapsed. The wave hit, forcing Ishikawa Shing to retreat steadily, and Sanju's tongue spa was also forced to stop. Damn, it's almost there, just a little bit. Shi Chuangxing's good deeds were destroyed, his face was distorted, and hatred grew. Regardless of the water stains on her pants, she walked back to Sanju and looked down from above. Very good, I am very satisfied, you deserve it. Go and kill that eye-catching boy, and I will give you more exciting rewards. After all, a jet black metal bottle appeared in his hand, and he threw it on the ground at will. Potion. Potion. Sanju crawled over like a dog, picked up the medicine bottle, his eyes were crazy and greedy. Although the time he spent with the 2 cherry blossoms was short, he also learned about the power of potions from their mouths. Before he used the primary potion, his attributes increased dramatically, giving him the illusion of turning into a glaring King Kong. Now, the high-grade potion is in his hand, and Sanju is holding it carefully. The medicine bottle seems to be more attractive than Ishikawa Zing's jade feet. Knowing that this medicine has the power of bewitching, Sanju is still willing to sink into it. After all, the power it can bring is really irresistible. Sanju stared at the potion intently, and perfunctorily licked Ishikawa Zing's sexy high heels a few times to express his gratitude, and then opened the medicine bottle. Puff, listen, what a beautiful voice. Sanju was almost intoxicated. Immediately afterwards, he brought his lips together, ready to gulp it down. And at this moment, a thunder dragon descended from the sky, and struck towards Sanju's position with incomparable precision. Xu Lang's face is cold. I'm not an idiot, just messing around in front of my face like this. Things have come to this point. Sanju is still thinking about relying on the strange medicine given by the Sakura devil to gain strength and become an enemy of himself. He really wants to die. I have already given him a chance, and I have done my best. Since you are obsessed with obsession and are willing to fall into the devil's way, then I will send you to see your Buddha. As soon as these words came out, Xiao He next to him suddenly trembled. He blinked his eyes that no longer existed, and thought to himself, is it such a great sin to fall into the evil way? Boom. When Thunder Dragon fell, Sanju hadn't taken the medicine yet, and his body was in a weak state, so he couldn't avoid it. Shi Chuangxing's pretty face was slightly annoyed, and he raised his hands high, and several layers of shadowless walls protected the two of them. Drink quickly. She knew she couldn't last long, so she called out loudly. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Sanju swallowed the potion in one gulp. At the same time, Shi Chuangxing sensed that the shadowless wall was beginning to collapse, so he immediately withdrew his skills, dodged backwards, and hid in a relatively safe area. And the thick thunder dragon broke through the wall and slashed down, hitting Sanju directly. The smoke and dust flew together with the remaining leaves, and Sanju's body was probably turned into dust and mixed into it. After killing Sanju with his own hands, Chu Han felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. It stands to reason that Sanju was willing to degenerate and had an affair with a foreign race, which is no different from a traitor. This kind of scourge, everyone can punish it. But thinking of his experiences that were very similar to his own, Chu Han felt sore and couldn't help sighing. Forget it, it's useless to think too much. Chu Han knew that he was doing the right thing, so he stopped the internal friction. Right now, there is something more important, that is the red-clothed cherry blossom girl. She seems to be more skilled than the female fairy Akadamai, and she must not be allowed to leave. At this time, the female goblin in red retreated to a distance, not knowing if she wanted to escape. "Don't go, monster!" Chu Han yelled like Brother Hu, and rushed over. Ah! As soon as Feng Ling's wings spread out, before Chu Han moved, he heard a huge roar that shook the soul. With this roar, the ancient forest was full of smoke and dust, countless branches were broken, and the leaves were flying. In the distance, Shi Chuangxing smiled with red lips, and looked at the cloud of dust with great anticipation. This potion really has Mr. Zhaolin's acting style. Rebellious and mad, it's simply too charming. I don't know, what will the three bamboos turn into? Chu Han was shocked, endured the feeling of palpitation, and checked the information of the monster that suddenly appeared. Introduction. A fallen Buddhist holy object. Close black lens bracket. When he received the high-level potion, Kobayashi Jiro's exhortations are vivid. High-level potion will draw out the devil in the heart and transform it into its own shape. This is the ultimate killer. It must not be used until the moment of death. Boom. Boom. Is it the moment of death? Of course not now. After the monster appeared, it stretched out its arms more than 10 meters away, and roared to the sky. Even Xiao He felt the shock of his soul, and he stood up vigilantly without caring about Akadamai below him. His body tensed up, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. Chu Han frowned tightly. Before the monster appeared, the oppressive feeling made it difficult to breathe. To put it bluntly, it will make people lose their minds and turn into a beast. It is an unrivaled monster that looks like a crocodile but walks upright. Its body exudes a tragic breath, as if there are thousands of innocent souls entangled in it. It is breathtaking. Heavy footsteps sounded, and soon, a monster nearly 30 meters high broke through the dust and appeared in front of Chu Han. But it's okay to let that idiot try the medicine. Ishikawa Shing smiled even more. Roar. There was another roar. The dust and mist in the forest seemed to stop instantly. The ground began to tremble, and soon, a huge figure walked out of it. Open black lens bracket dark Megara close black lens bracket chapter 147. Qingben's sacred object. How can it become a demon? Only the name and introduction, no rank, no attribute, no combat value. Sanju, who was refined into a monster by the potion, seemed to be something that shouldn't appear in the world at all. A living person has been turned into a monster. What kind of insane beast is it to refine this potion? Sakura devil, his heart can be punished. Chu Han finally understands now why the royal knights have fought openly and covertly with the Sakura kingdom and never stopped. This dehumanizing race, just like the giant crocodile in front of us, shouldn't exist in this world. Grass. After cursing, Chu Han felt remorse. He should have killed Sanju long ago, and he shouldn't be soft-hearted. If Sanju knew that he would become like this, he would not have swallowed that potion, would he? I didn't kill him, but harmed him. Roar. Diablo Magra's chest vibrated, and with the roar, a gust of wind spewed out, like howling ghosts and wolves, as if thunder pierced through both ears. Xiao He, take that girl away from here, the farther the better. Knowing that Xiao He's current strength is not suitable for this level of battle, Chu Han decided to let him leave first. Moreover, Mayakata's life needs to be saved for the time being, so that Xiao He can keep an eye on her. The female goblin has been beaten to a pulp, and Xiao He can completely suppress it. The evil wind was raging. Xiao He took the order, took Akadamai in his mouth and ran away. When they were far away, Chu Han flew into the air, followed by Nirvana Quanglei. Click. Boom. The thunder dragon blasted down, causing the berserk beast to stop for a moment, but Chu Han could clearly see that it didn't lose blood at all. To be more precise, this guy has no blood volume at all. The world of Job Change for All is a fusion of game and reality, and this monster is more like reality. Chu Han guessed in his heart, but he was not sure. Maybe it was the effect of the potion. No time to think about it. The painful Diablo Megala let out a low growl, and the monstrous magic light rose from the ground, and the giant beast stretched out its big hand with golden and black patterns, and grabbed it towards Chu Han. Chu Han didn't dare to be careless, and hurriedly dodged to the side, dodging the thunderous blow. Boom. The giant claw smashed into the ground, and amidst the loud noise, there was a faint sound of a bell, just like a Buddha chanting. Hearing this sound, Chu Han's expression moved slightly, showing a little sadness. You are a sacred object, but how can it become a demon? This sentence seems to be said to Diablo Megala, more like it is said to Sanju. With a light sigh, Chu Han floated in the air, raised his right arm. Samsara whispers, sorry, let me end your pain. The black mist floated out from the palm, and the power of the dark curse was slightly similar to the breath of the dark magic. Chu Han closed his eyes, unable to bear to see Sanzu die again. When the 20-second countdown ended, he looked back. In an instant, it was radiant. The dazzling golden light suddenly exploded, and the Diablo Magala seemed to have really transformed into a Buddhist sacred object, swallowing up the black mist. Chu Han's expression froze, and his eyes flashed in disbelief. His reincarnation whispers, the secret forbidden spell that kills the boss in seconds never misses. Broken. Why? How is this possible? After a moment of distraction, the dark giant claws of the Diablo Megara attacked and grabbed Chu Han's body. The golden light on its body did not last for too long, and it had already dissipated at this moment. After all, it was a fallen Buddhist holy object. Even if it could use the holy power that originally belonged to it, it could only borrow a momentary brilliance. Clang. The giant claws of Diablo Megara were nearly half the size of a basketball court. When he approached Chu Han and was about to crush him to death, a huge black sword fell from the sky. One sword, the world moves. Before the people arrived, the sword arrived first, and Zhang Yi's Crow 9 sword became huge, with a faint cold light glowing from the incomparably sharp blade, and the tip of the sword pointed directly at the giant beast's head. A vision suddenly appeared. Diablo Megara gave up attacking Chu Han, and retreated to avoid the fatal blow, but unfortunately the action was still half a beat slow. Crow 9 fell, and a cold light flashed, directly cutting off one arm of Diablo Mogula. The blood mist exploded in midair. The Crow's 9 sword didn't stop at all, it continued to fall, and plunged into the ground backwards. Along with it, there was also the arm of Diablo Megara, which was thicker than a 1,000-year-old tree, and the black blood that spewed out instantly withered the vegetation. Ah! The giant beast wailed, mixed with pain. It grabbed the severed arm, opened its huge mouth and swallowed it, and then let out a furious roar. It's so noisy. The silver wolf galloped over, and Zhang Yi's lazy voice came later. What kind of monster is this? It seems to be quite strong. My beloved future captain, haven't you discovered soccer's spies, who? When his companion rushed over, Chu Han landed next to him and briefly explained the matter. After listening, Zhang Yi's expression also became serious. After a moment of silence, he opened his mouth and said, the potion that turns people into monsters. It sounds quite unconscionable, but it's not surprising when you think it was the work of the Sakura people. This race should be exterminated. Chu Han nodded. The continuous high-intensity fighting made him a little tired. Stop cursing, and think about how to deal with this monster. Zhang Yi tilted his head and glanced at him. You seem to be very tired. Leave it to me and let Su Ying help you recover. You? Chu Han also squinted at the past. Don't be brave, let's come together. No, it's time for me to perform. The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth curled into a smile. He stood up from the wolf's back, and then jumped up, jumping to the top of the giant crow's sword hilt. Crow 9 sword felt the master's aura, and the edge of the sword hummed and trembled, as if it was very excited. One person, one sword, the same mind. In front of them, Diablo Megara had swallowed his severed arm and had grown new limbs, but the heart-wrenching pain was still there. At this time, seeing the culprit who made him feel the pain of breaking his arm, it was also furious. Roar. Facing the culling giant beast, Zhang Yi looked awe-inspiring, and made seals with his hands on his chest. Judge, come. When the skill was activated, Zhang Yi emitted an ancient mysterious light. He seemed to have received the guidance of the gods in the Hall of Valor, and his body gradually changed. As the light became more and more pure, Zhang Yi's body also began to swell and become larger. In the end, he also turned into a giant like a dark Megala. Chu Han, who was still standing on the ground, watched this scene, and couldn't help opening his mouth wide. Damn it. The sky is like the earth. Chapter 148 The Strongest Support, Knight of 100 Flowers. Zhang Yi, who transformed into the judge form, held the Crow 9 and pointed his sword at the sky. Its vast power was like a divine weapon descending from the sky. No wonder Su Ying always calls him Wing God. Chu Han relaxed and leaned against the tree trunk, breathing heavily, taking this opportunity to regain his strength. After continuous fighting, his mental and physical strength was about to reach its limit, and every muscle and bone was filled with soreness. Chu Han tried to use Blue Sea Tide, but unfortunately, this water-type forbidden spell with strong recovery power could only replenish his blood volume and remove the control effect. It could not recover the physical consumption. Roar. Dark Mogara roared violently, spitting strange black light from his mouth, and then condensed into an entity and spread on the outside of his body. As if fearing that Crow 9 would cause him the pain of amputated limbs again, it used black light to forge a pair of armor. Judge, Zhang Yi proudly held the sword and came with a stern look. In his eyes, the dark Mogara at this moment was no different from an ant. Laugh. After holding on to the fallen monster for a moment, Zhang Yi took the lead. The giant Crow 9 sword swung, tearing apart the space with a devastating force, causing a sharp and majestic sound of breaking through the air. This sword is extremely terrifying, with the terrifying momentum to cut through mountains and rivers. It seems to have come from ancient times, and all the gods in the sky will be judged by it. Dark Makara was unafraid, black light surged within its body, and its armor seemed a little thicker. Facing the fiercely slashing Crow 9 giant sword, it refused to dodge, turned its right claw into a fist, and directly bombarded it. Clang! The black Yaju slashed at the black armor, and streaks of strange and gorgeous brilliance erupted in the air. The terrifying black energy fluctuated violently, sweeping up the dead branches and leaves all over the sky. Everything in the ancient spirit mountain was silent, and they were all frightened by this divine power. The attack was blocked, but Zhang Yi still looked indifferent. That was the arrogance of a judge, contempt for all living beings. Immediately afterwards, Yaju spun around and slashed with another sword. Chu Han stood leaning against the tree, with the figures of the two giant gods reflected in his dark eyes. It must be said that this was an extremely terrifying battle, terrifying. Chu Han. Suddenly there was a voice from behind. Chu Han turned around and saw that it was Su Ying and Wu Qinxin. You too. Why do you always show up a little later than Zhang Yi? Chu Han complained with a smile. There's nothing we can do. Wing God's Haoyue Sirius is too fast and we can't catch up. Su Ying stuck out her tongue and then said, why do you look so tired? It's okay. Chu Han waved his hands indifferently, the battle lasted too long, just rest for a while. After saying that, Chu Han took a deep breath and was ready to join the battlefield at any time. With the black light armor, Dark Mogara can almost ignore Zhang Yi's attacks. Although Zhang Yi is in the judge form, every sword strike is thunderous, but in this form, he seems to be unable to use skills. Only normal attacks cannot break Dark Mogara's defense. The physical resistance was already maxed out, and he didn't know what the magic resistance of this guy was. Chu Han was eager to try it. I'm here to help you. Su Ying jumped off the bird's back, pointed her sword finger with her right hand, and with a slight stroke, several vines appeared out of thin air and surrounded Chu Han. Boo! Boo! A few unnamed little flowers exploded like firecrackers, exuding fresh air and refreshing the heart. It's useless. I'm in a physical overdraft situation and can't recover with skills, Before he finished speaking, Chu Han felt strange changes taking place in his body, as if there was an endless stream of power being sucked into his body along with the clear air. The soreness in the muscles suddenly disappeared, fatigue and collapse were forcibly expelled from the body, and only passion remained at this moment. Power. A steady stream of power began to fill Chu Han's body, so full that it almost overflowed. Chu Han was pleasantly surprised. He never thought that something that even his water-forbidden spell could not do would be solved by a seemingly weak knight. Sure enough, the 9th team does not support useless people, but my sister still has a vision. Seeing Chu Han's expression, Su Ying was also very proud. She raised her head and said, don't underestimate me. The Knight of Flowers is the strongest support. I can keep you full of energy at any time. As long as I'm here, anytime you feel weak, I can cheer you up. Wow, awesome, awesome, awesome. Chu Han couldn't help praising him. Just when he was about to think of some powerful words to say some rainbow farts, he heard a clanging sound. The Crow 9 sword came out of his hand, smashed a row of ancient trees and fell to the ground. The blade of the sword trembled and buzzed, as if he was very dissatisfied and wanted to fight with the giant beast again. Zhang Yi lost. Chu Han was slightly surprised. This guy has a lot of aura when he transforms, and it looks like something. Why is it so fancy but not useful? On the other side, the judge who lost the Raven 9 sword clenched his fists, preparing for a hand-to-hand fight with Diablo Megara. At this time, his body began to flash white light. Transformation time is coming. The Diablo Megara roared, as if it was waiting for this moment. Scarlet blood appeared in its eyes, and it opened its bloody mouth to bite. Zhang Yi's body was shining with white light. At this moment, he had no fighting power, and even his body began to shrink. Facing the attack of the giant beast, he had no way to avoid it. Dictatorship field. At a critical juncture, Chu Han unfolded the ice world, and even the 3 teammates present were all frozen. But the Diablo Megara was not affected at all. The extended ice world only slowed down its movements, but could not control it. Click. The furious behemoth bit the ice coffin with one bite, and half of its big teeth burst out immediately, and then retreated back and forth with howls. It covered its long crocodile mouth, its lower jaw trembling slightly. The bite just now carried its full of anger, and the force was too strong, but it was himself who was injured in the end. Chu Han flew up along the edge of the ice world, and after getting closer, he used the reincarnation whisper again while the giant beast was in unbearable pain. As soon as the black mist floated out of the palm, Diablo Megara was aware of it, and its sensitivity of the 5 senses was top-notch. When the black mist approached, Diablo Megara repeated his old trick, and a brief golden Buddha light erupted from his body, and as before, completely dispelled the black mist. Chu Han gritted his teeth. Damn, come again, Samsara whispers. The black mist reappeared and slowly approached the giant beast, but unfortunately, it was dispelled by the golden light as before. Damn, it doesn't have a CD for summoning golden light. Chu Han confirmed again that this product has no attributes and skills, it is more like a monster from the real world, and there is no data. But these are not important. The main reason is that the ineffectiveness of Whisper of Reincarnation made Chu Han so painful that he had no choice but to deal with it. If you are F** King depraved, you will degenerate to the end. What does it mean to keep a trace of Buddha nature for yourself? The trace of Buddha nature left in the depths of Diablo Megala's consciousness allows it to use the holy Buddha light for a short time. It was this ray of Buddha's light that completely suppressed Chu Han's dark-type forbidden curse. It's so hard to deal with. I don't know if the Temple of Light can do it. Will this forbidden spell that can instantly kill dark monsters be effective? I guess it's hard. The Dark Mogula has not been digitized, and should not have dark attributes on him. Regardless of him, try again. There is no better way now. While avoiding the monster's attack, Chu Han was thinking in his mind. Just when he was about to shake off the light-type forbidden spell, a voice rang from his ear. Future Captain, can your black mist move instantly kill monsters? Who's talking? Chu Han was startled, and subconsciously turned his head to look. But no one was seen. Hearing the voice, it sounded like Zhang Yi's. Chu Han looked down, and the ice world below had disappeared, and the freezing time had passed. But what about Zhang Yiren? There was no shadow of him on the ground, so it stands to reason that he should have returned to his original state. Listening to the voice just now, it was as if it was in my ear, but at this time, I was flying in midair, and there was no other figure besides the giant beast. What the hell? What are you looking at? I'm here. A lazy voice came, and Zhang Yi was still talking in his ear. Chu Han was taken aback for another moment. He carefully followed the direction of the voice, and the next moment, he was completely dumbfounded. I saw Zhang Yi standing there on his shoulder. His body became the size of a thumb. Chapter 149 Su Ying makes a move, 100 Flowers Puppet. F***K. Seeing the pocket wings on his shoulders, Chu Han almost spat out and quickly covered his mouth. With Zhang Yi's current size, he was afraid that he would be sprayed to death in one breath. How did you become like this? Chu Han blurted out in shock. Zhang Yi rolled his eyes and sat down. What's weird? This is the sequelae of my transformation into the judge form. What kind of useless skills do you have that have sequelae? Chu Han was speechless for a while. It was so strange that this thing grew bigger and smaller. Zhang Yi said, do you think all the gods in the Hall of Heroes are great philanthropists? This sequelae is the price of borrowing power from them. Don't worry, I can change back in an hour. You'd better find a way to solve it. Chu Han looked in the direction pointed by Zhang Yi and saw that Dark Mogara had pounced on him again. Easily dodged, Chu Han flew higher, but his thoughts were interrupted by Zhang Yi, and he forgot what he wanted to do just now. Oh, by the way, try using the light forbidden spell. Temple of Light. Remembering his previous plan, Chu Han directly cast out the forbidden light spell. When, the bell rings loudly, just like the sound of Buddha. When Dark Mogara heard this voice, he was in a trance for a moment. A golden temple appeared in the sky, solemn and holy. Golden light poured down, and Dark Mogara closed his eyes in pain and backed away, as if he was escaping from the golden light in his former self. This corrupted Buddhist holy object let out bursts of wailing. Although it was seriously injured, it was not instantly killed by the forbidden light spell. Sure enough, Chu Han expected this failure and was not too surprised. Although it is called Dark Mogara, it actually has no special attributes and is not a dark monster at all. Hey, Captain Future, you haven't answered my question yet. At this time, Zhang Yi's voice came again. Chu Han was slightly startled. What's the problem? Zhang Yi repeated. Is your black mist an instant kill skill? Yesterday's battle between Chu Han and Sanju was witnessed by Zhang Yi in the audience, so naturally he couldn't escape his eyes. Chu Han was silent for a moment. At this time, there was nothing to hide, so he nodded. That's right. But it's useless now. It's immune to my skills. Easy to handle. After receiving Chu Han's answer, Zhang Yi stood up, stood on his shoulders, took a deep breath, and then shouted below. Su Ying. Help. On the ground, Su Ying, who was riding on the back of a bird, was talking to Wu Qinxin with her small mouth open. Suddenly hearing Zhang Yi's shout, Su Ying hesitated for a moment and quickly leaned over. As the Knight of Flowers, she has extremely strong auxiliary abilities, including recovery, control, and group buffs. Every time there is a group mission in the guild, she is very popular. Therefore, although Su Ying looks a bit mediocre, her combat experience is actually not much worse than Zhang Yi's. Taking a look at the situation on the field at this time, Su Ying roughly understood what she should do. So before Zhang Yi could say anything, she flew over on a red jade falcon. Approaching a relatively safe position, Su Ying gestured with her sword and made a casual stroke. 100 Flowers Puppet. With a sweet shout, several colorful vines burst out of the ground, and then, flowers of various colors bloomed on the vines. The flower vines are not aggressive. They entangle each other and quickly condense into a ball. Finally, they form a humanoid puppet made of flowers. Then, the vines left on the puppet's body rose into the air, as if they were gaining life, and headed towards Dark Mogara. At this time, Dark Mogara was extremely manic, and the black air spitting out of his mouth became even more intense, flowing on his body like a swamp. Chu Han couldn't do anything to it for a while and could only rely on his own agility to continuously consume its physical strength. Fortunately, although Dark Mogara is an unbeatable little strongman, it has no skills. It just sprays some black energy to increase its strength and defense, or occasionally reveals the Buddha's light in its body. Apart from that, Chu Han could easily dodge simple physical attacks such as biting and tearing. At the same time, he also began to pay attention to Su Ying's developments. I saw the vines protruding from the 100 Flowers puppet, like a spirit snake, dancing ferociously and entangled, trying to trap the mad Diablo Megara. Roar! When the vines approached, Diablo Mogul finally noticed these things that looked like demonic tentacles. So with a wave of the giant claw, its arms touched the vines, and the black air surrounding it was like a sharp knife, cutting off the vines. What is she doing? Chu Han quickly asked the pocket Zhang Yi on his shoulder when he had time to spare. The petite and lovely Yishan, who got into Chu Han's collar, answered while yawning. Whoever is entangled by the vines, the 100 Flowers puppet will become a substitute for that person. When the time comes to kill the substitute, the main body will also die together. So perverted? Chu Han was taken aback. Then we need to stay away. This Su Ying seems unreliable if she gets entangled with me. Zhang Yi glanced at him. Slandering your own team members for no reason can't make you a qualified captain. Who promised you to be that bad captain? Chu Han couldn't help but slander, and then muttered. I really have no sense of humor. Immediately, he spread his wings and flew towards Su Ying. What can I do? Help me control it, Su Ying shouted without hesitation. Okay, dictatorship domain. As soon as control was mentioned, Chu Han threw out the ice-type forbidden spell reflexively. Papa, the ice world is coming, and the cold is threatening. Bursts of water mist rose in the ancient forest. Chu Han stared at the giant beast, but found that it only paused for a moment, and it was still uncontrollable like before. No, I can't control it for too long, Chu Han said, and immediately realized that Su Ying and her Mount Qiyu falcon had been frozen by him. Including Wu Qinqin in the distance, the pocket Zhang Yi on her shoulder, and the 100 Flowers puppet, none of them escaped the fate of being frozen. Chu Han was a little embarrassed, and grinned. I'm sorry, I don't have any team combat experience, so I forgot about you. He threw out a shot of Bai Haichaosheng casually, but the three teammates did not break out of the ice. It seems that the priority of the skill, dictatorship domain, is higher. After getting this answer, Chu Han began to fly around the Diablo Megara, flying kites non-stop. After 30 seconds, the teammates' control effect recedes, and the ice world disappears. Su Ying was furious, but didn't say anything, and shouted at Chu Han. Is there any control skills? The ones that won't accidentally hurt teammates? Yes, yes, yes. Chu Han accompanied the smiling face without money, and then stretched out his arms, holding the wind element and the water element with both hands. Soul-wrapping dance. Bihai Chaosheng. The violent wind and tsunami broke out, clearing an open space hundreds of meters around, and countless towering ancient trees were swept up. Like a spirit snake coming out of its hole, dozens of vines wrapped around Diablo Magra's body in an instant. Soul-wrapping dance. Bihai Chaosheng. Chu Han stretched out his right hand, aimed at the 100 Flowers puppet transformed into the Dark Megala, and smiled grimly. Chu Han exerted his control over the magic elements to the extreme, and the Diablo Megara was continuously disturbed by the forbidden spell. Although it was not fixed in place, its movements were stuck like a slide. Losing the intrusion of the forbidden spell, Diablo Megara quickly locked onto Chu Han's position, and chased after him with big strides. Soul-wrapping dance. Bihai Chaosheng. Chu Han felt that his eardrums were almost pierced. Enduring the severe pain, he distanced himself from Diablo Megara and flew within 50 meters of Baihua puppet. Seeing Su Ying's success, Zhang Yi hurriedly shouted in Chu Han's ear. Quick, kill the puppet. The surviving vines entangled it, quickly found the gap in the black mist armor, and then got in, piercing into the skin of Dark Mojalo, and took root. Although the control skills cannot effectively control the Diablo Megara, it can stop his figure for a moment. Swish swish. The giant beast reacted, but unfortunately its body was limited, its movements were not so smooth, and it only had time to cut off a few vines. Now, Su Ying seized the opportunity and let the 100 Flowers puppet stretch out the vines again. Samsara whispers. Chu Han took advantage of this to continuously release the dual system forbidden spells. In an instant, there was a violent storm. It seemed that some kind of special connection had been formed. The vines turned into scattered dots and disappeared. At the same time, the 100 Flowers puppet began to flicker miraculously, and then changed in size, finalizing a reduced version of Diablo Megara. Chapter 150. The Buddha is angry with the common people. You will attack in the form of Shira. In the face of imminent death, creatures always have a natural sensitivity, and seem to have some kind of predictive ability. Especially the Diablo Megara, who had lost his sanity, reacted even more violently to this. When the black mist in Chu Han's hand slowly approached Beiwa's substitute, it roared and charged, completely crazy. Help me block it, Chu Han shouted, asking his teammates for help. According to past habits, he should seal himself with an ice coffin at this time, but the battle situation this time is different. Even though Chu Han could cause damage to that 100 Blossoms stand-in essence, it still belonged to his own camp and was a teammate. In other words, once the skill of dictatorship is used, it will protect the double and prevent it from any harm. Although it is possible to control the extent of skill release, Chu Han is too close to Beiwa's substitute. If the ice realm is unfolded, he is not sure that he can precisely control himself without affecting the substitute. If there is a mistake and the substitute is frozen, then this excellent opportunity will be missed. It took a lot of effort to connect the substitute with Diablo Megara. If you miss this opportunity and let it break free from the connection of the substitute, it will be troublesome. It is not known whether Su Ying can use 100 Blossoms as a stand-in again, but even if she can, the Diablo Megara who has been hit once will definitely be more defensive, and the difficulty will be doubled by then. Therefore, Chu Han did not intend to use the ice coffin despite the risk of being interrupted by the Diablo Megara. After all, there are teammates by his side, so he can only count on them to hold him back for 20 seconds. Just to see what other means Su Ying, the so-called strongest supporter, has. Only by relying on 100 flowers as a stand-in, I'm afraid she won't be able to gain a firm foothold in the Royal Knights, right? Thinking so in his heart, Chu Han turned his head to look, but suddenly saw a black shadow flying out like a bullet. Although Zhang Yi was backlashed by the negative effect of the skill, and his size became smaller, his speed was still excellent. He jumped off Chu Han's shoulder, drew a downward arc, and rushed straight to Diablo Megara. Crow 9 sword lying in the broken branches and broken trees felt the master's fighting intent, trembling with excitement, then flew up suddenly and followed the master. When Zhang Yi jumped to the side of Diablo Mogula, Yaju also returned to his hand. His figure was no more than the size of a thumb, and the Yaju sword was in his hand at this moment, like a toothpick. Without the slightest hesitation, Zhang Yi faced the behemoth rushing towards him, and stabbed at the throat with his sword. Laugh. The toothpick pierced fiercely into the gap between the two muscles and was firmly clamped. The body of Diablo Megara is like pouring copper juice, and every muscle is as hard as iron stone. Although the throat is the key point, the current Zhang Yi can't do any effective damage to it, and the giant beast doesn't even have a reaction. No way, it's too short and too thin. With a kick of Zhang Yi's feet, he pulled out the Crow 9 sword that was clamped, and then continued to attack upwards without stopping. Everything happened between lightning and flint. When the Diablo Mogul was about to approach Chu Han, Zhang Yi showed amazing jumping ability, stepped on the body of the giant beast, and jumped onto its face. The pupils of Diablo Megara shone with scarlet and bloodthirsty madness, as if wanting to choose someone to devour. The smile on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth was also bloodthirsty. He adjusted the size of Yajujian, making it several times bigger than himself, then hugged the hilt of the sword with both hands, and pushed it forward suddenly. Puff! The unparalleled sharpness of the Raven 9 sword, the tip of the sword directly pierced into the terrifying pupil. Diablo Magaro let out a painful roar as soon as it landed. Zhang Yi still didn't stop, he came to the side of the sword hilt, his knuckles were bluish-white, he almost used all his strength to push. Laugh! The Crow 9 sword that pierced into the pupil of the giant beast was pushed out a certain distance horizontally with the efforts of the master. On the right eyeball of the Dark Mogula, a scalp-numbing crack was cut. Damn it! Chu Han was thinking about how to avoid the attack of Diablo Megara, but when he saw this scene, he couldn't help but let out an exclamation. Gray-green mucus spewed out, it was unknown whether it was blood or something. Zhang Yi dodged to dodge, and summoned the Crow 9 sword, which fell steadily back to the ground. Roar! Diablo Megara howled wildly, his eyeballs were cut apart abruptly. The pain felt like a heartbreaking pain, piercing the bone marrow. How could it care to stop Chu Han? It covered its right eye with a pair of giant claws. Its huge body kept trembling and howling. The pain visible to the naked eye was too much to live. And at this moment, Chu Han's singing had ended. The black mist invaded Beiwa's substitute and directly wiped it out. The broken petals and vines scattered all over the ground, and the substitute disintegrated instantly. The scene was silent for a while. Everyone's eyes were firmly locked on the huge body of Diablo Megara. At the moment when Beiwa's double disappeared without a sound, Diablo Megara, who was insane due to the pain, also suddenly became quiet. It still maintains the movement of covering its eyes with its paws, but, why doesn't it hurt? The pain that pierced the soul stopped, and the mucus that gushed out ceaselessly, and even the warm heartbeat in the chest, also stopped. The only remaining eye suddenly opened wide, and the ferocious and animal nature in the eyes gradually receded, and there was a flash of calm and sadness. It's like human eyes. Boom! The hill-like body crashed to the ground, and dust swept across the sky, submerging it. Dark Mojalo, or Sanju, the depraved black energy on his body, and the golden Buddha light remaining in his body have disappeared without a trace. And his left eye has already turned gray, full of dilapidation and death. Chu Han was still speechless, and silently walked to Sanju's body. Empathizing with his experience before, Chu Han was always reluctant to kill him, but when the other party chose to swallow the potion, Chu Han's last trace of compassion disappeared. Self-resigned to depravity also deserves such an ending. It's just that I don't know if you will regret coming this far. If you had to choose again, when those monsters invaded the city, would you still stand up? Alas. Chu Han sighed inaudibly, and at this moment he could only lament the impermanence of life. Defeating a powerful enemy, but not being happy, this kind of mood is really terrible. Pocket Zhang Yi jumped onto Chu Han's shoulder again, sensing that the future captain was depressed, and said, "Although I don't know why you are sad, you should relax. You know, I'm not good at talking, and I'm not very good at comforting people." Chu Han twitched the corner of his mouth, showing a weeping smile, and was about to say something when he was suddenly attracted by a golden light. Turning his head to look, he saw next to Sanju's body, a small book was lifted by the golden light and floated gently on the ground. Chu Han walked over and bent down to pick it up. The Might of the Buddha, occupational restrictions, none. The skill book has exploded? Chu Han was slightly surprised. Logically speaking, Sanju who became a monster has no attribute data, so he shouldn't drop loot after killing like other monsters. But this skill book, why did it appear? Chu Han shook his head. In this world where games and reality are integrated, there are too many things that cannot be explained by common sense. Without thinking too much, Chu Han looked at the skill book. There are no level and occupation restrictions. In other words, this skill book can be learned by any professional. This is the first time Chu Han has seen such a situation. Even if it is a general life skill, there must be a level limit, but this book has no restrictions at all, and there are no taboos. Buddha has no form, and all living beings are equal. That's probably what it means. At this time, Wu Qianqin walked over and tried to explain. They are in the same team, so they can naturally see the information in that skill book. Learn and learn. Su Ying was full of anticipation. Me? Chu Han was taken aback, and then looked around. Apart from this skill book, there were no other trophies. It doesn't seem very good to swallow it by yourself. Of course it's you are the future captain. Zhang Yi also said with a smile. Why does this kid seem to be buying himself? He won't play the game of taking the short hand and eating the soft mouth. In the future, forcing himself to be the captain of that. Chu Han pursed his lips. Forget it. Anyway, he originally planned to find a way to join the Royal Knights, so there is no need to be polite at this time. Then I'm welcome. After finishing speaking, Chu Han printed the skill book on his palm. Do you want to study? The power of Buddha. Close black lens bracket. Yes. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations on learning the skill. Buddha's power. Close black lens bracket. Passive skill. Devil Surge. Is triggered, and the skill. Buddha's Might. Is replaced with Buddha's Wrath. Close black lens bracket. Skill. Buddha Wrath the common people. 6 paths of suffering. 10 realms of desolation. You will attack in Shira form. Close black lens bracket.